of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you and good evening. Before we proceed, let's introduce ourselves as your host for the evening, starting to my far left.
My name is Brent Laskawa.
Michael Donlan.
Richard Tripp, member.
Crystal Morin, secretary.
I would be Lynn Perkins, the chair.
Craig Corbett, vice chair.
Gaspar Bimba.
Jim Dietzel.
Jason Dragani.
And all the way to our far right is our code enforcement officer, Kerry Owen, and our clerk is Eileen Boudreau. And just a few announcements. These proceedings are scheduled to terminate at 10 p.m. In the event of an emergency, please exit to the rear of the room and don't use the elevator. We are audio-video recorded. And did I forget anything? No, you can't think. Oh, yes. Please shut off all your cell phones, iPads, anything that could create a distraction to the proceedings. Okay, there we go. I got all four of them. And without any further ado, we'll call the first case, which is 26-104. Applicant is Michael Henricus, and that is, the owner is MH Real Estate Holdings, LLC. Mr. Dietzel, would you sit on this case, please?
Thank you, sir.
Yes, you do. Come right up there.
I'm speaking today on behalf of Michael.
Have a seat, please.
Okay.
And you are?
Megan Henricus.
Okay.
Is the microphone on?
I'm sorry?
Is the microphone on?
Is
I
her
think
mic-
it's pretty low, but yes. I'll
Is she
sit
good
closer.
there, Owen?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Very good, thank you. And you're standing in for your husband?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Okay, good enough. So what we ask you to do is, you have an application page, and that's got 5 criteria. We'll have you read those for the record, okay? And then we'll barrage you with questions. And possibly other people may come up with questions as well.
So I submitted the paper and didn't keep one for myself. Does anyone else have my answers that they can share with me?
We are often prepared for this kind of fallout.
Thanks, Gary. You're welcome. Alrighty.
You're all set?
Yes. And
Okay, you have the floor.
All right. And just starting with number 1,
That would be fine.
the variance will not be contrary to the public interest because the proposed accessory structure replaces multiple deteriorated sheds. New structures will improve the appearance and functionality of the site. Number 2, the spirit of the ordinance is observed because structure maintains appropriate spacing from neighbors' properties. The setback relief requested does not impair light, air, access, or overall intent of zoning structures replacing existing structures with footprint already within the setbacks. But the new structure improves scale and pattern of the development. 3, substantial justice is done because granting the variance allows reasonable use of the property without creating harm to the public or neighboring properties. Strict enforcement would prevent practical site improvement and replacement of previous accessory structures. The value of surrounding properties are not diminished because the proposed structure is modest in size. It will not create congestion. In fact, replacing the aged structures that were a huge eyesore with a single well-constructed building enhances the site and those around it. 5, the literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. For purpose of this subparagraph, unnecessary hardship means that owing a special condition of the property that distinguishes it from the other properties in the area. No fair or substantial relationship exists between the general public purposes of the ordinance provisions and the specific application of that provision to the property. Literal enforcement of the setback would result in unnecessary hardship because the property is subject to shoreline regulations and permitting constraints that already limit the available building space. A principal structure has been designed and permitted to comply fully with applicable setbacks. The 15-foot setback unreasonably restricts the remaining functional area of the lot. The proposed use is a reasonable one. The proposed use is reasonable because accessory structures and/or accessory residential structures are permitted by right within the zoning district. The proposed structure is modest in scale and use aligns with the intent of the district and does not introduce non-conforming activity. If the criteria of subparagraph are not established, an unnecessary hardship will be deemed to exist if and only if, owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, the property cannot be reasonably used in strict conformance with the ordinance, and a variance is therefore necessary to enable a reasonable use of it. If the criteria in subparagraph A are not established, an unnecessary hardship exists because due to shoreline regulated constraints and the approved layout of the principal structure, the remaining buildable area on the lot is significantly limited. Strict conformance would unreasonably restrict the functional use of the property and disrupt the established site plan. The variance is therefore necessary to enable practical residential use of the lot consistent with zoning and permitted improvements.
So you're trying to put up a 12 by 24 shed to replace 4 that are deteriorated. Did you already remove those sheds?
We did.
Okay. All right. So did you write all this or your husband?
I did.
You did, nice. I was starting to liken it to like when the husband says, go to the auto parts store. They'll know exactly what you need. All right. We'll let you elaborate and tell us a little bit more in your own words what's going on.
Okay, excellent. So the property was purchased last year. We have slowly just been trying to make some modifications. The house itself is in pretty big disrepair. Right now, we just wanted to kind of clean up the lot for the neighborhood. We took down 4 existing structures in the back, along with some debris and various trees as well that were, dead and falling down. And then we thought that putting 1 shed back up in the back area of the lot would kind of replace that, and with some storage, and possibly down the line, any other thing like a she shed or a, whatever it might be. So just the problem being is that if we do take down the main house, we've got an approved footprint for the new lot, or for that lot, that kind of restricts that back line where we would necessarily kind of put that shed. So I was hoping to put the shed a little bit closer to that back line within the setbacks.
So were there 5 sheds prior, or?
So the last one that's closest to the back property line is actually a VW bus.
What?
That's still there. And yeah.
A microbus?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's pretty
right.
cool. If it was actually drivable or workable, it'd be awesome, but unfortunately it's junk.
Huh.
I tried.
I just happened to see this listing the other day. It was for the trolley cars that would go up the south side of Mount Uncanunic, which had a hotel on it. And it was the trolley house for the tram or whatever that went up Uncanunic in Goffstown. And they built the trolley right into the house. They just made it part of the home, so.
That's really cool.
Yeah, if you buy the house, you get the trolley with it. All right. Any other questions from the board? Anyone?
I have some questions.
Mr. Tripp?
In your packet, we have an existing drawing, which shows, I guess, probably when you bought the property. And then we have a proposed drawing. And did you mention that?
Thank you.
Oh, did you mention that you were tearing down the house?
As of right now, we are not, but potentially, yes. And we wanted to get we had an engineer kind of lay out where we could potentially put a new footprint. And so those have all been submitted with a shoreland permit, which is why this exists, this document exists.
All right, so, but potentially, you're going to tear down the house and build a new one?
Yep.
All right. So you're doing this thing in stages, I take?
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right, so I noticed that the VW bus is no longer in the proposed.
It's still there, actually, but it will be removed, yeah.
Yeah, when you're done, it's going to be gone.
Yeah.
And the house itself is, no, the shed is sitting in a corner where it's, let's see,
Basically, the bus was
5
right where
feet from
that
the
was.
side property and
Right.
3 feet from the rear property.
Correct.
No, so, all right, so, right now, that's all I have.
Okay.
What is the approximate space between the shed and the house, by the way?
So I wanted to leave about 10 feet between the house and the shed.
Okay.
That's what's shown currently.
And creates a tight space, doesn't it?
A little bit, yep.
Yep, okay. Anybody else? Mr. Dietzel?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Corbett?
No, not the time.
I don't think I have a question at the time. I can understand the need for it. I appreciate the cleaning up of the sheds. I think where I potentially have a question is, I think the unknown is the proposed house, because I think without it, it looks like we have a lot of room within the property. I guess what percentage, if you had to put it at, are you guys kind of leaning towards for building the new house versus leaving what's currently there?
Oh, 100%.
Definitely going to be building a new
Yeah.
one. Okay. No, I mean, with that, I understand it then. There's not really much room. I think we can obviously probably achieve the side setback, if we had to, but positioning it in I guess it's a more deliberative talk, but positioning it in an area where it's already being utilized and actually becoming more conforming than, I think, the Beetle or the bus. I don't really have many questions. There's not really much you can do with the property as far as size, works.
Okay. All the way down my far left, starting with Mr. Laskawa. Anything?
I got nothing.
Okay, Mr. Donlin.
No, sir.
Okay. All right. I was going to ask the question kind of almost the way where Mr. Corbett was going, which is that seems like the shed might be putting the cart before the horse if you're not sure of the path you're going forward, or is that not the case?
Well, we've got lots of other hoops to jump through, I think, before that. So this was it could also be a temporary spot to put construction materials and things like that. So cart before the horse, but also I think probably necessary for some of that storage.
Okay. All right. If no one else has anything else, Mr. Dragani, you're all set also?
Correct.
Okay. All right, well, let's get staff report. Mrs. Owen, what do you have there?
Thank you, Chair. So as the applicant clearly stated, looking to seek approval for constructing a 12 by 24 accessory structure positioned 5 feet from the side property line and 3 feet from the rear property line. This property is located in the medium density residential zoning district, which requires a 15-foot side and rear setback. Therefore, the variance is being requested. The proposed new structure, as we heard, is replacing several pre-existing non-conforming deteriorating structures that were also situated within the setback locations. This property is located on Beaver Lake, and it's in an area of quite a few pre-existing small lots, non-conforming lots of record, non-conforming structures. This property is serviced by municipal sewer and a private well, and a state shoreline permit would be required for the accessory structure.
Other than that, anything else? That wraps it up? Yeah, okay. All right. Mr. Tripp?
Can you explain again why the shed is going to be where you want it to be?
Yes, basically just because we've already had the footprint approved for the new property. So the back lot doesn't have a whole lot of space there. I mean, if we removed the front deck on the new footprint of the house, we could probably scooch the house up a little bit, but I'd prefer to have the deck. So in order to have the shed back there, I wanted at least 10 feet between the house itself and the shed, which is still a little tight. And then, that's basically it. I didn't really see any other location that would be any better, unfortunately.
So I understand that, if you're going to tear the existing house down and build a new one, you need some space to operate in.
Yeah.
But it is awfully close to the lot line.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Now, you said that the deck on the front, how far is that from the front lot line?
It's quite a bit. I think it's 39 from the front, from the road, and I'm not sure as if I see the distance on that. But I'm assuming it's about half, probably 20 feet from the parking there. And yeah, so if the deck was removed or the side deck was removed, the house could shift forward a little. But again, this has already been approved through.
Are there any fences in this area?
Yeah, the very back lot has a fence already currently there.
Between you and the back lot?
Correct. So the back line that shows 70 feet, that almost is exactly where the fence goes.
I might point out that even if, with the space that's proposed between the new shed and the back of the house, even if they attach that shed to the back of the house, they still would be in the setback.
Yes.
So even if they start to slide this forward and then they're trying to keep 15 feet between the shed and then 10 feet between the shed and the house, it's probably going to put them right up against that parking space. I don't have a scale ruler with me, nor is the plan to scale, but just making that reference with my own finger, it seems pretty close. Anything
And we
else?
did, sorry. excuse
No,
me.
you're fine, go ahead.
The parking on that street, I thought it was probably a pretty good idea to have off-street parking, so we wanted to leave space for that in the front, so I wouldn't want to squeeze that at all.
Okay. Ms. Owen, did you mention about the shoreline permit there?
Yes, correct. A shoreline permit would be required. I believe there is a shoreline permit in place currently for the replacement structure and the removal of the existing sheds, but I didn't see any mention of the accessory structure, so that's something that we'd have to review.
How does that get amended with DES? Do they have to have an actual separate permit, or can they make this application, amend the application to?
I believe they can amend this application, and its application doesn't expire until 2030.
I see.
I was told that I originally wanted him to include it on the application, and he said because the existing structures on the lot were similar in size, that we would be placing, a new shed and replacing those. He said I didn't need to include it, so I can go back and check with him,
Sure.
but, because I have that relationship. So it shouldn't be too much of a problem, but maybe an amendment.
Well, I think that the identification of the structure, right, that there's an additional structure probably allows you to amend it. I don't know, I haven't gone that road in a while, but just kind of curious because I know that the reference of two structures is there, and I know that you need that shoreline protection permit, so we learn here as we go as well sometimes.
Me too.
Thank you, Ms. Zone. All right. Anybody else?
one more question.
Mr. Tripp?
On the existing drawing, in the upper left-hand corner, the corner of the lot is pretty much taken up by something that has squiggly lines on it.
It's just grading.
It's just writing?
Grading. The grade. I think
Oh.
he was just trying to show grade and drainage.
Oh, all right.
It is referenced 4 and 5. I wonder if it's,
All right. Thank you.
You all set, Mr. Tripp?
I am.
Very good, thank you. Sorry if I cut you off.
That's okay. I know you're mean.
All right. If there's nothing else from yourself, we'll take a call for public, okay? And anything that's said, if anything is said, you'll have an opportunity to rebut, okay?
okay.
All right. So at this point, we'll make a call to public. Anybody in favor of this application, first is a favorable, then is opposed. Anybody in support of this application, this would be your chance to come forward. And seeing no one rise there, anybody in opposition to this application, this would be your opportunity to come forward. So apparently you get along with your neighbors. Congratulations.
Yay.
All
Not
right.
always easy in a lake community.
All right, so yeah, if you don't have anything else, we can take a motion to go into deliberative. You all set?
Yes, I'm all
I'll
set.
take that motion, please, from the board.
All the way in the back.
Mr. Chair.
All right. Ma'am, you want to come forward? Okay. We'll yield. I spoke too fast. We'll have you step back and we'll let them speak, okay?
Me?
Yep.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, as they approach, I bring to your attention that we do have an extra microphone if you find it more convenient.
Oh, very good. Thank you, Mr. Preventure.
Whatever.
Good evening.
Hi.
Your favor or opposition?
Well, somewhat opposition.
Right in the middle,
More information.
More information.
okay?
We,
Well, ask for
we're
your
the
name and both
abutters.
of you to use the mics, okay?
We're the abutters.
Yep. And your names are?
I am Cheryl Fogg,
I'm Philip Fogg.
and we live right behind this property.
Okay.
This property. So the fence that's been in question is our fence, and this structure would only be 3 feet, I believe, from the fence. And we feel that's a little close.
Okay.
Another question was, how high is this structure going to be?
The shed,
Yeah,
I'm guessing not more than 8 feet, and I'm getting an affirmative to that.
okay,
I don't know that that includes the roof
right,
ridge, but
okay.
are you
And-
uphill from it?
I'm sorry?
Are you uphill from this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we look down on it. And,
With the people up back.
Can you speak into the microphone?
I'm sorry?
Your
Yeah,
microphone?
with the people up back.
Yes.
It was talked about earlier, where the fence is, stockade.
And where is the access to this, are they going to be driving a vehicle into this building, or
To the shed?
machinery?
To the shed?
Yeah,
It's a shed. It's
Well-
not a garage.
okay.
It's not large enough for a vehicle.
Okay, all right, perfect. And it's not to be inhabited by people, or it's just a shed?
As far as I can tell, there's no outhouse proposed.
Okay, so it's just zoned as a shed?
Well, the zoning is not accurate, but it's looking like the application is just for a shed.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
And just keep the verbiage accurate for your own reference. Mm-hmm. Okay?
And we just kind of had a question with there's an actual pin of the boundary line, and that pin is actually in 6 feet from the private driveway.
Where's the pin reference? Is it in the back of the lot or the
Well, I
front?
have a picture.
Well, can you tell me where the,
It's by the fence,
Okay,
and it's at where that Volkswagen bus thing is.
okay.
And the pin is in 6 feet from there.
So it's 6 feet from, further from your home?
From the driveway, from the side of the driveway.
It shows that on.
We have some good pictures here if you'd like.
And then it shows that. See how that's open?
Yeah.
And then,
Oh, I see,
So,
okay.
Yeah.
It's off the side of the driveway. I
so
see.
the shed's
Yeah.
really going to be 11 feet, not 5. So that helps
I
with
see.
anything.
Years ago, that's how the lay of the land went.
Sure, I get it.
Right. He's our neighbor.
Okay, well, but we're not taking comments from him from the back of the room.
Okay.
Okay? This is a quasi-judicial proceeding, we want you recorded, okay?
Sure, okay.
All right.
So I'm not sure if that has any bearing on, where this shed
Well,
can be
understand,
built, or?
yeah, so understanding that that the pin is in 6 feet from, is that your driveway?
Yes.
Okay,
They have the right-of-way, that property has the right-of-way to use it, but it is a private driveway that belongs to
okay.
our house.
So as Mrs. Moran has just pointed out, the setback from the proposed shed is not really as close as it seems. It's actually more distance to the driveway for this property, correct? No, that's all right.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Currently, the shed is going to be 5 feet from the property line next to the driveway, not from the driveway. So whatever that space is between the driveway and the property line, then an additional 5 feet. I
Her
think it's-
setback starts on her property line, not on the driveway.
Okay, so it'd be on the pin?
Correct.
Yes,
That's
starting
where her
from the pin
setback
back.
is. So ideally, it's not 5 feet, it's actually going to be 11 feet.
Okay.
But she can't count that in between
Gotcha.
because it's not technically
Okay.
hers.
Okay, it was just, the drawing was a little,
Yep.
to us lay people.
Got it.
I guess, I don't know, did you have anything else?
No, I don't know if it helps. We have a few pictures that, show exactly what we're talking about.
Well, I think we're all set with that, as
Okay.
long as we have an understanding and we've answered your questions.
Yeah.
And I think it sounds like we're clear.
Okay.
I think my comment earlier was that there's not a lot of room left to put the shed,
Mm-hmm.
otherwise it's going to become part of the new structure.
Totally, yeah.
Okay. Are you
Totally.
good with that?
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
good.
we understand all that. It's just, we're all close there.
I
It's getting
understand.
closer and closer.
Yeah, oh, I get it. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
There was a gentleman in the back that started to rise up. Did he want to speak, or is he all set?
No, you want to speak? Here,
Okay, we'll excuse you folks. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. good
Hi,
evening.
my name's Charles Marchese. I live on the other side of the right-of-way,
Okay.
and I just wanted to know, is this going to be a house, or is this going to be a B&B?
Sorry, or what?
Are they building a house, or are they building this to be a
Mr.
B&B?
Chair, if we could ensure proximity to the microphone from all
Could you
attendees.
lean to the microphone, please?
Are they building this as a house, or to be a B&B?
Oh, that portion, that one's not related at all to our case tonight. We just have the shed.
They can do what they want there, then?
We
Well,
did say that.
That's, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you,
we're
Mr.
just-
Chairman.
our case tonight's just for a shed, so that's kind of all we know what's going on with.
Okay, I saw the house on the drawing, and that's why I was curious as to what it was going to be.
Yeah, we can check, but unfortunately, I don't think it has a bearing
Okay.
either way on the shed. Nothing we can do
And
about that
depending on the
portion.
size of the house, depends on how much room there'll be in back of it. I think there'll be more than what you actually realize.
Well, that's not up to this board. That's up to code enforcement to enforce. We're just here because the shed doesn't conform, and so that's, as Mr. Corbett just said, it's, the application
Okay,
is just about
I mean, I
shed.
have no objection to it.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Cartman Casey.
you.
Okay, anybody else? Seeing nobody come forward? Ms. Henricus, you're all set to come back up? Anything you want to address or speak of that was mentioned?
No, I don't think so. I know where they're speaking of about the pin.
Yep.
And like Crystal said, it is the line that starts, on our property. And I tried to take that into consideration in the placement. And again, it's for storage on the back of the lot to replace. So for this, I guess that's all I had to say.
Great. Okay, very good. That being said, we'll take a motion and go into deliberation unless somebody else has a question. Seeing no gestures.
I do
Mr.
have
Tripp?
another question.
Okay.
The abutter, she made mention of, she was wondering how you would access this shed.
Right.
Which is pertinent to this because it's close to the lot line.
Right.
So I would, can you answer that, where the door for the shed will be?
The door would be facing the road. Does that make sense?
Beaver Lake
Like the
Ave?
lake itself, so north of, on that drawing, up, I should say.
Facing the house?
Facing the back of the house, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. All set, Mr. Tripp?
Yep.
Very good, thank you. We'll take that motion and go into deliberation, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dietzel. All in favor of deliberation, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. All set? Anybody wish to lead off? Okay.
It's a shed.
It's a shed, that's right.
Yeah, I think I kind of veered during the questioning into some of the deliberation portion. Obviously the question of, putting the cart before the horse, but understanding, kind of taking bites out of the apple, doing one thing at a time. But ultimately, at the house coming in, I can understand the placement. That whatever we said it was, the bus is encroaching. It looks like it's over the property line. The other shed is within the setback radius as well, and so is the third one. So an opportunity to clean up, I think, 3 non-conforming structures with, just the one coming in and probably one that looks nicer than the 3. I get it. There's not really much space you can do here. Again, I think you could offset some of the side setback. But to Crystal's point, with that driveway there, I think that also creates an extra buffer that would deem it more unnecessary. So the rear setback, the 3 feet is somewhat tight, but being that it's just going to be the back of the shed to the fence, I think that's okay. Still give some space for a lawnmower to fit, so I don't really have many qualms with this.
Mr. Diesel?
The application is very well written and very clear, and I think it speaks for itself. She addressed the hardship issue, which is probably the main stickling point. She addressed why, based on the property itself, why it's really not feasible to put the particular shed elsewhere that may. I can't even see where it would be conforming just because of the size of the lot. This is less non-conforming than what's there. It's going to look good. As far as putting the cart before the horse, I think that's kind of irrelevant. We're here for this shed and this shed only, and we'll see if the house needs a variance down the road. But I certainly don't see any problem here.
All right, Mr. Tripp?
I agree with the other members. I think that, this is one of those things that, and it is a shed, so it's bound to be stuck in a corner someplace. But this gives enough space for, to get access to the shed and to do whatever you want to do around it.
Mrs. Moran?
I feel that with the shed, it's going to be needed whether they do a new house or if they fix the house that's there. So regardless, a shed is going to be needed. And the location of the property, a shed is important. You can only buy so many kayaks and paddle boards before, you find them being stored in your kitchen. So I think it's definitely a need. And that's pretty much the only spot, because you don't want them parking on the road.
Yeah, so going right to the highest rung with 5 criteria, the hardship certainly seems to trump all other questions, spirit of the ordinance, public justice and or substantial justice and diminution of value. Diminution of value sits well within the neighborhood. as it often does around the lake and river sites. And the hardship is just that it's just such a contained space that I think that this is a fair ask and defined by the commentary to the distance between the proposed shed and the structure. So there's not a lot of room there, and I can concur on the highest rung, which is the hardship. So that being said, I think the board's in unison here. We have the permits and inspections as a requirement for this town and state, which would be applicable to the shoreline protection permit as well, and any other conformities that would be up to code enforcement. Are there any other motions to, any other topics to the motion that anybody would like to add? Seeing none, no gestures there. All right, very good. I think the motion's completely structured, and we can take a motion to come out of deliberation.
So moved.
Mr. Tripp has that motion. Second, please. Mr. Corbett?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Corbett. All in favor of coming out of deliberation, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mrs. Moran, you have a motion to read.
I do, thank you. I make a motion on case number 26-104 for Michael Henricus to grant a variance to the terms of Article 6, Section 165-46.C.4 of the Town of Derry zoning ordinance to construct a 12-foot by 24-foot accessory structure less than 15 feet from the side and rear property lines. Parcel ID 51112, zoned MDR, as presented with the following conditions. We have one, subject to obtaining all state and town permits and inspections. And that concludes the reading of the motion. I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Dietzel. Second puts that on the floor, a question on the floor, and leads us to the finding of fact. Mr. Corbett?
Yep. Finding a fact for case 26-104. The board found that the applicant is requesting approval to allow the construction of a 12-foot by 24-foot shed positioned 5 foot from the side property line and 3 feet from the rear property line. Property is located in the medium-density residential zoning district, which requires a 15-foot minimum setback from both the side and rear property lines. The proposed new shed will replace several pre-existing non-conforming deteriorating sheds that are currently situated within the side and rear setback areas. Property is located on Beaver Lake and is located in an area of pre-existing small lots and non-conforming structures. If approved, a state shoreland permit will be required to be obtained prior to the issuance of a building permit, and the board also includes all facts found in the meeting minutes for this application and incorporates all meeting minutes into its finding of facts and decisions. Does anybody have any additions or addendums to make?
Once again, seeing no gestures, all in favor of moving the motions for a vote, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Mr. Corbett?
Vote yes.
And Mr. Dietzel?
Yes.
And Mr. Tripp?
I vote yes.
And Mrs. Moran?
I vote yes.
The chair will make it unanimous, make it 5-0, so congratulations, Ms. Henricus. Your LLC has been approved for your shed. Anybody aggrieved by this has 30 days to ask this board for reconsideration. After that, recourse would be to Superior Court. Okay?
Great, thank
Very
you so
good.
much.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
You as well.
Did we get all the photos back where they belong? Do I have a pack of photos down there? Could I have those back, please? Thank you. Could you grab those, Mr. Corbett? Excellent. Thank you.
Is that why your first name?
All right. Next case up is 26-105. Applicant is Nicholas Marion. Mr. Marion, you here?
And Chair, I'm going to step down for an alternate to be on the case.
All right, very good. Mr. Obimba, would you sit in absence of Mr. Burgess? Mr. Donlin, would you sit in for Mrs. Moran? Mr. Donlin, would you take the secretary duties on that and prepare to read the motion for us as well?
Yes, sir.
You have that document with you?
I do,
So do we need to hand you a spare? You do have it. Very good. All right, thank you very much, Ms. Moore. And let's proceed. Mr. Marion, you are here for a special exception.
Yes.
And we'll let you go through your explanation, your application for it, okay? And then I think you saw what happens.
Okay.
All right, welcome. Go ahead.
So my name's Nicholas Marion. I live at 38 Gervais Drive. I am trying to apply for an FFL, which is a federal firearm license. The applicant claims the dwelling unit is his or her legal residence. Yes, it is. Number two, the residential use was established by the applicant prior to filing the request for special exception. It was. I bought it in 2017. Number three, the proposed home business will not be injurious, noxious, or offensive to the neighborhood by reason of emission of odor, fumes, dust, smoke, vibration, noise, or other cause. It will not. Number four, the home business will be conducted within the residential structure or existing structure and will not be 25% of the home. It will not be in the home at all. The home business use will not change the residential characteristic of the dwelling or the property. It will not. Nothing will change. Not one or more sign or other advertising device will be displayed on the property. No signage will be displayed. Number seven, not more than one person not residing in the dwelling will be employed on the premises at the same time. There will be no employees. It won't be a business. Sufficient off-street parking will be provided for employees, clients, and customers. That's not applicable. And number nine, not more than one home business will be conducted on the property. So, to answer number nine, I do run a construction company. I've been in business for 25 years. I'm a sole proprietor, so I basically park my truck there and I have an office where I do my paperwork. There is no construction work that is done on the property other than if I'm working on my own property with a proper permit. I have parking, everything's hidden, everything's put away. That's all the questions on the paper. So basically what I'm trying to do is I want to obtain my federal firearm license. As I said, I've been in construction business for 25 years. I've had several accidents over the years. Getting older, I'm looking to retire out of the construction trade at a less physical career, to be able to kind of retire comfortably and slow down a little. I have no intention on having anything at my property other than the address listed on my license because that is my property and I need an address on the license. I've already dealt with the ATF. I've done all the paperwork with them. I've had my investigative meeting with them. Everything is fine on their end, pending the approval from the town.
Anything else?
One other thing, I guess there was a letter that had gone around the neighborhood. I sent out a letter to all my abutters like I was supposed to. One of them decided to pass the letter around the neighborhood to everybody with false accusations. One of them said I was trying to open a firing range. That is false. Another one said I wanted to sell commercially out of the property. That is also false. I also got a letter from another abutter from his son, who is an attorney, saying that there is absolutely no way that I could do this at my property. All I'm asking for is the special exception to have the address on the license. My intent is to get the license and further look into getting a building and, like they were saying on the other case, don't put the cart before the horse. I can't go sign a lease on a building somewhere to legally open a store without having the proper credentials I need, being the licensing and everything else. So I'm literally just trying to use my address to get my credentials.
What is the intent, your intentions for the business immediately if your application were to prevail?
I'm going to look for a property to be able to open a store in a properly zoned area, like a storefront, et cetera.
Yeah. Let's, why don't you start with some of the, as you put it, the false accusations and look at the merit of those. Do you have a firing range currently?
I do not.
Have you discharged your weapons behind your home?
Never.
Okay.
I think where that came from, I do have one abutter to the side of me, who's a police officer in Florida. He rents his house here. I contacted him to ask permission last year at a point. I did want to put a private targeting range in my backyard, which New Hampshire law says I can as long as I fall between 100 yards of any dwelling. I was 10 feet short of his house. So I contacted him, asked him if I could do it, because with permission, it's okay. He said absolutely not. I said, okay, fine, no problem, thank you. I then proceeded to contact my neighbor, my other abutting neighbor behind me, explain the situation and said, I'm too close to him, I'm too close to you, but do you mind if I shift your way? And he said, absolutely, no problem at all, I don't care what you do. I still have not discharged a weapon on that property.
Okay.
I don't have any intention to.
Got it. Okay. And you are looking for an FFL1, is that my understanding?
Type 1, yes.
Type 1?
Which is basically the allowance of letting me buy, sell, trade, transfer. I can't manufacture with that. I can't, no machine guns, automatic weapons, suppressors, things like that. Those are other stages of the license, but once I have the FFL license approved, I can then go and get endorsements to do the other things once I have a building and I'm established.
If you're working construction, how does the overlay of construction to this business work? How do you deal with the overlap?
So my wife and my son work the construction business with me. My son's gonna run the construction and I'm gonna slow down and run a store sitting in a chair.
And immediately, as far as that goes, you're looking at this, with your application, asking that question, and yet there's still that overlap that's going to occur.
Right.
What is the intent of your business? Is it just to be able to receive weapons and then resell them, or receive them for someone else who's trying to purchase?
All of the above.
Okay.
So my intent is to open a firearm store where I can purchase, sell, trade, transfer, sell ammo, targets, things like that. Eventually, I would love to get into a building with a firing range also, but got to start somewhere.
Do you have a prospect for where you think you would set up your permanent shop?
Definitely New Hampshire. I don't know where. I have to find a building that it's even going to be zoned to be able to put a firearm store in it, et cetera, et cetera. I haven't done that yet because I want to make sure that all this is done. I could find the perfect building and then wait for this and not get approved, and then, I either signed a lease without credentials or I lose the lease because this took too long. I just haven't gotten to that point yet.
So let's say in your scenario, the board, your application were to prevail, and you started to have the occurrence of someone who would want to purchase a firearm through you, and it took you 8 months to find a location. And I'm using what you've presented, which is you just need a legal address to establish your license with, as I'm understanding it, your intention is not to have any sales at this time. Am I correct?
The only sales that would possibly be done out of this address would be all strictly online sales. So there would be no people coming to the property. It would be all done online and me shipping. And I don't even honestly see that happening. I would rather go to a store. I don't want to deal with online. But that would be the only way that any of that would, nobody, I don't want anybody coming to my house. I have a nice quiet neighborhood. I'm not trying to disrupt anybody,
Okay. Well, and, try and be fair and well-rounded to your request and make sure that I see all the questions that could come up, and I don't mean to dominate from the rest of the board, so to that, I will rest and see if anybody else has any questions they wish to ask.
Well, I have a question of the chair. Where's the special exception section in the zoning ordinance book?
So the special exception outside of a variance, we're not looking at the 5 criteria for this. So what we have is the 9 items that he kind of went through for this checklist to see if that fits. Then
Okay.
within that, what we're to do is to look at section 165-46, sections A and B, and under B, it tells you what type of uses are allowed for a special exception.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Any questions at all, Mr. Tripp?
Not yet.
All right, Mr. Donlin?
I have a few.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
So I'm a little bit curious with, if it's only a type 1, so then you won't have type 6. So I'm a little curious on the ATF inspections, and this is kind of a 2-part question. One, if you find a new location later, are you obligated to change the address on your paperwork, we'll just say generically with the ATF?
Yes. Yes, so as soon as I lease a building, the 38 Gervais Drive address will come off of it, and it will be the commercial area, that address.
Okay, so if they're gonna do like so they've already come and done an inspection of your residence now?
Correct. I do also want to just state one thing. There is another FFL holder on Gervais Drive, just for the record.
Is that this address?
No, it's about 10 houses down the street, but it is on Gervais Drive, and it's legally done. I was actually questioned about it from the ATF when I put in my application.
Do you have record of that?
I do not have record of that. I'll have to look a little closer, but.
I will say that, and I have discussed this prior to this agenda being posted, but I think it probably goes back to 2012, 2013. We had a barrage of probably, I'm thinking 5 or 6, that's a barrage, of FFL licenses that came up, and I knew that there was one on Gervais. Wasn't sure if it was your residence prior or
No.
someone else's.
It was not. It's a totally different address.
Not this one.
It was the same address, 38 Gervais. The prior property owner was granted a special exception for to allow the sale, this is exactly how it was worded, in 2012, to allow the sale and assembly of firearms, antiques, and oddities at the residence. Internet-based primarily, appointment-only customers. And that's what I had for info.
I have no idea of that. I bought the house in 17.
Well, it seemed like if my recollection is accurate, there was a lot of restriction with the board's granting of that, and I think safes were, do you happen to have the file sitting there in front of you? There was a lot of talk about having safes located in the house for this. It's been, 14 years? So I'll let you bounce back to us on that, Ms. Owen. We'll come back to you with the, for staff. Mr. Donlin, did you have any more questions?
Not at this time, sir.
Okay. Mr. Corbett?
None at this time. I'm curious to hear some more on the prior exception, because to me, it doesn't necessarily meet the definition, really, of what would be allowed for this within the area. So not that all are the same, but I'm curious as to what went into.
How the latitude went?
Yes.
Yep.
If it had to do with I wonder if the antiques had something separate with that. I could almost see some type of an argument being made for that. But just for, I don't want to say wholesale, but just kind of commercial, or the definition of the one, it doesn't seem to fit in, under A, B, or C, under 16546.
I will note that generally speaking, a collector's is like a different type of license than a type 1.
Okay.
All right. Mr. Liscawa, you have anything you'd like to ask?
No, at this time, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and
Type 3.
what's that?
Mr. Donald's one.
Let me go all the way down to my far right to Mr. Dragani.
I actually do have a question. So you had them come in, they did the inspections, and I'm assuming part of that licensing, as he was mentioning, is about safes and security, correct?
So it actually wasn't about inspecting the home, it was more of an inspection and interview for me.
Do they do the next part, or is that something totally separate?
I think they probably would, but my intent was clear to them as well, that I wasn't using the address as a store. I wanted to obtain the license and then go and get a commercial storefront.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's my recollection around the same time as when Chester Arms also was one of that cluster that came in. And they weren't all special exceptions. They were just looking for that established address for the licensing criteria, I think. So, Mr. Dietzel, how you doing down there? You have any questions?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
And Mr. Obimba, you are, of course, on this case. Have any questions for you?
Not really a question, some clarification I need. The construction business, is it granted by a special exception too?
It is not.
It's not, all right.
I do have a state business certificate to run the business through the address. So this business is registered to this address.
Yep.
But again, it's a home office and I park my truck there. Nothing is done on the property.
But just number 9 says you can have more than one business use. So whether you're running the actual construction or just an office, that will count.
Correct, but I'm
against
not
you.
doing anything with the FFL at this address, so I'm not running two businesses. It's still only going to be my construction business at this address.
All right.
Well, I think where we need to get with this is to authorize for the license, we'd be authorizing you to run the business at the house.
Correct.
So there is a disconnect between that. And-
Right, unless it was conditional approval. I mean, that's kind of what I'm asking for, is just a conditional approval. I'm not asking to run the business through the home. I'm literally just asking to use the address that I purchased to get a license.
Anything else? Pause right now. Ms. Owen, you want to run us through the staff report in its entirety and whatever else you may have just come up with?
Excellent. Thank you, Chair. Let me just get myself rearranged. Excuse me. As the applicant stated, he's requesting a special exception to permit a type 01 federal firearms license at the residence. The property is located in the low-medium density residential zoning district. The applicant has represented no work will be performed at the property and is interested in opening a future firearms store at a different location. The business will operate within the existing residence and will not exceed 25% of the total living area per the application. And if approved, the federal firearm license must be attained by the applicant, and all associated regulations with this licensing must be followed. So looking back at I did mention about the prior special exception that was granted in 2012 for this property. And Chair, you are correct. The variety of applications that came through were all special exceptions around the 2012 period. And there were a variety of different types of licenses, whether it's an O1 or a greater. And at the time, unrelated to 38 Gervais, the other properties during this time were located in MDR, LMDR, and another one in MDR. And they were all granted at that time. Going through the meeting minutes of the 2012 meeting for 38 Gervais, again, this was the prior homeowner, so this is no longer applicable for the current homeowner, but it doesn't appear that there was a lot of specific items relating to safe and storage documented in the minutes itself, other than the ATF has specific safety issues that have to be met in order to be licensed. It was stated at the time that the applicant was installing a vault that would be bolted to the floor, and one of the conditions of the approval was that all guns were to be stored in a safe according to BATF standards and be applied.
Very good. Anything else?
I want to make a mention because we have received some feedback over the last couple of days, so I'm going to make a comment on this. I understand there may be a covenant or an HOA in the neighborhood that is a civil matter that is not the town's responsibility to maintain or enforce, so I just wanted to make note of that. And I think that's what I have right now anyways.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Marion, anything else you want to add?
No?
Okay. All right, well, what we're going to do is we're going to make a call to public, and you'll have an opportunity to rebut anything that's said, and you may want to take notes. All righty? And so we'll make a call to public. First is favorable, then second is in opposition. Anybody wishes to speak in favor of this application, this would be your opportunity to be heard. So, Mr. Marion, I'll have you take a seat over there in the front row, and sir, you're welcome to come up. Have a seat. And your name?
Hello, my name is Mark Corcoran. I just wanted to speak in favor of this. Given everything that I've heard, it sounds like Mr. Marion's just looking to use this as kind of a stopover to opening up a new business. And honestly, I think that's a very good thing for the town of Derry or wherever else he happens to open up the business. I don't have any opposition to this.
And your
What
address?
Thank you.
Yes, you don't know.
I was going to ask for his address too.
Oh, I'm at 34 Gervais Drive. I'm just a little down the road from him.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Corcoran from the board?
No, sir.
You all set?
Thank you very much.
All right, very good. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor? Yes, sir.
Yeah, good evening. My name's Paul Morlock. I'm actually in a butter to Mr. Marion's, and on the next street over on Kelly Drive. And I see no problem with what I've heard tonight. I actually came in with great concern because I understood that it sounded like there was going to be a business at his residence with flow of traffic and firearms and, you know, concern that it becomes a target for the bad guys that want to come in and, you know, gain access to firearms. The only thing that did pique my interest here a little this evening was any talk about having some type of a firing range in the back, you know, where diagonally, but we do abut his property. And I don't see that there's anywhere near room to have such a thing. We already do have just a couple houses down on Mill Street where there is a range in their backyard. And, you know, we hear that all too often. As it is now, usually Sundays are the worst days because they're home on the weekends, you know. And, yeah, and, you know, he mentioned Nicholas mentioned that, it's a nice, quiet neighborhood, and we enjoy, the peace and serenity of the neighborhood. But from what I'm satisfied with what I heard coming here this evening. For me, it wasn't time wasted. And I did come in, with concern. So, yeah, but I think that's been satisfied. And I didn't mention, my name's Paul Morlock.
Okay.
On Kelly Drive, so.
All right.
All right.
Very good. Thank
All
you.
right.
Any questions?
Thank you for your time.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, briefly, I would bring to your attention that we have received, we do have attendees that are attending remotely. You may want to clarify the board's policy on, we do have some folks that are submitting to the chat on the Zoom.
Thank you, Mr. Venture. Hang on. What was that?
LOC.
Thank you.
You may want to be aware it's an attorney, they're identifying themselves as an attorney for an abutter.
All right. Well, we'll keep him there momentarily. We'll finish up with anybody else that's in favor or wishes to come forward. All right, seeing no gestures there. Now we'll take anybody in opposition to this application. This will be your opportunity to come forward. Can we identify, the board suspended remote input for one thing, because it's hard to identify the people that are speaking, that they are who they are, and also it became of less of an interest to the public. With this exception, could we ask the identity of the caller?
In the chat, Mr. Chair, they've identified as Daniel, it looks like Phelan.
Okay.
Counsel at homeowners at 40 Genovese.
So he's an attorney, but his parents are also in a butter, so that's like a double.
Yeah, we submitted the letter.
Sure. So we'll take a board vote on this. Board need a motion to accept the remote call from this attorney.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Obimba has the motion. Mr. Corbett says second. All in favor?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
Before we vote?
Yep.
So, will he be acting as an abutter or as an attorney?
Well, we have, of course, with the abutters, it's testimony is not always restricted just to the direct abutters, but anyone who may prove to be aggrieved by the application if it's approved. We have Mr. Phelan's letter on record, came to the board, and he is representing, I guess, his parents.
Doesn't quote.
But we have his...
Yeah, owners of 40 Gervais.
Yeah, so I don't know if that answers your question, Mr. Tripp?
All right.
You're all right
I'll
with
take
it?
his testimony.
Very good, thank you. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Exceptions made. Mr. Provencher, if you can arrange for Mr. Attorney Phelan to...
Doing so now, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Momentarily, they'll be able to speak. They're now unmuted and able to speak.
Very good. Mr. Phelan, you can hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Are you admitted
Good
in New
evening.
Hampshire?
I am not. I am admitted in New York only. My family is not currently located in New Hampshire. But as far as the ethical rules are concerned, I believe that my submission of that letter and joining this Zoom hearing does not in any way cross the line into those unethical rules.
Well, would you define your client, please?
Well, the clients are my family, my parents. They are the property owners at 40 Gervais. They do not reside there. The house is currently rented by a tenant.
Okay? So we run an issue here where I'm going to give you the latitude, but I should let you know that without acceptance to the New Hampshire Bar and without a letter to represent, this gets into a kind of a sticky situation. Would you agree?
Well, if I may, I do appear often in foreign jurisdictions. Obviously, there's usually a pro hoc vice admission process that is involved with that. Again, if this were to go to, a more formal, process, whether it be, an appeal or something like that, and there is, an opportunity to, submit a pro hoc vice application and retain local counsel, that would obviously be done. But in this scenario right now, there is no such process.
Okay, but you are contending that you're representing your parents at 40 Gervais.
Yes.
Okay?
And I will note one other thing.
I'm going to give you some brief latitude, okay?
Okay. Thank you, Urs.
You may proceed.
Okay, so obviously you have all received my letter dated February 13th, 2026, formally requesting that this board deny Mr. Marion's application, requesting a special exception to the current residential zoning of his property. Obviously you guys have gone through some of the issues. I think most of the stuff in the letter speaks for itself. There are a few things that I do want to highlight. One of them is that the current existence of a business on his property bars him from being able to be granted a special exception. That in and of itself should be fatal to his application because of the existence of that other business. I know that he's noted that he, didn't previously obtain any, other types of zoning exceptions for that business, but regardless, his application is clear that that business does continue to exist at that property. Additionally, the overall intent, I think, is irrelevant. Mr. Marion's application goes through, numerous places where he states that the intent is not to open a store there and is not to, use his property as a, commercial gun store. However, granting the special exception would permit him to do that if he so changed his mind at some point, and then decided that he would like to sell guns. And this is, something that needs to be, criticized a little bit more because the intent is entirely irrelevant. You are approving a land use authorization that once granted would permit him to effectively use the full scope of that license, that federal firearm license, at his property. That license in and of itself permits him to commercially sell guns from the location of that, where that license is located, which in this case he is stating would be his house. And once that is granted, he's permitted to sell weapons commercially. He's permitted to store weapons there. He is permitted to store, other related items, ammunition, stuff like that at the location. He's permitted to receive shipments, commercial shipments, and, the like of, these weapons. He's permitted to have customers, come and go. And it subjects him to routine checks by the ATF, which obviously each of those elements of that, or each of those permissions that license grants him obviously go far beyond, the residential use and, what a special exception should grant somebody at their property. Additionally, the house is located in the LMDR district, and I think obviously that's been noted a few times. And when looking at section 165-46B1, the exceptions that may be granted, it appears, are narrowly defined home businesses limited to, different types of professions and trades: lawyer, doctor, clergyman, real estate agent, insurance agent, and similar recognized profession or business is specifically enumerated in that section. Artist, artisan or craftsman, tradesman or repairman. The ordinance does not authorize general retail activity, commercial sales, storefront operations, by special exception in that district. If the proposed use does not fall within one of those specifically enumerated categories, I believe that is fatal to his application for a special exception. Again, this is, a use that is going far beyond what a special exception typically grants.
So let me interject here. So
Yes.
what if the board had a condition on it that said there was to be no exchange of weapons at this address? Doesn't that excuse what your point is here?
It can, yes. I think that's more a question for the applicant, if that satisfies the criteria needed for the license. If he can use his address to obtain the license and at the same time not be permitted to, partake in any of the activities that the license grants him, I'm not sure if that's if that's going to accomplish the need that he's seeking. But obviously, if none of those activities are permitted there, then yeah, that solves all of the issues.
So in one example, which may have just recently changed, but if you went to Kittery Trading Post in Maine and you purchased a weapon and you gave the exchange of I think you give the exchange of the money there, but then they drive the gun over the border into New Hampshire and then hand it to the purchaser, that officially, I think, waives the taxes or other conditions that may be structured in the state of Maine, rescinding that exchange, rescinds it as a purchase in New Hampshire. Couldn't this applicant have the same conditions, that he receives something and then delivers it someplace else and hands it and gets the exchange as a legal gun dealer?
I don't believe that is within the permissions granted by this specific license. My understanding is that the license grants the holder of the license the ability to transact in commercial firearm sales and additional additional permissions at a specific location.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What about a trade show?
I'm sorry?
What about a trade show?
And I'm not familiar with that process, but please enlighten us if you have specific example, Mr. Donlin.
Well, if you go to a trade show and you sell a firearm as an FFL, you're not at your address.
Anything there, Mr. Phelan?
I believe that a trade show is part of the exceptions of that. I'm not 100% sure. Again, I think that's more of a question of the scope of the license itself. The opposition that I have is more to the property being zoned for commercial sale of firearms and the like. The full scope of that license and what it permits is goes a little beyond that. I think if the board is permitted to grant a very, very narrow exception that does not permit Mr. Marion to actually transact in firearm sales and does not permit him to have customers coming and going and receive constant shipments and the such. I think that accomplishes the really what my objections to the granting of his application are. I think that the existence of another business at the property is still an issue that, is probably fatal to his application. But notwithstanding that, I think, if the board is permitted to grant an extremely narrow exception that accomplishes the issues that I've identified in the letter and in the chat earlier, then I think that's fine.
Did I read in your letter that you made the point about the gun range? Was that in your letter?
Yes.
Okay.
So that was that was an additional request. Obviously, that has nothing to do with the current application, but is more goes to kind of the scope of what Mr. Marion is looking to do with the weapons on his property. I will note that he did call me yesterday. I repeatedly advised him to, go secure and retain counsel for himself. But in that conversation, he, did identify that if he wanted to shoot at targets in his backyard, he had permission from the other neighbor, and would proceed with doing that. Again, I'm not sure, what the full scope of what Mr. Marion is looking to do at his property is, but I think it just paints a little broader picture of what, of all of the circumstances going on.
Sure. Okay. Have we answered all your questions on behalf of your parents?
I believe so, yes. Do you have any questions for me?
Anybody else have any questions? No. I think we're all set. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Phelan.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right, floor is open to anybody else who would like to speak in opposition. Come forward, one at a time, in orderly fashion. As John Travolta said, and Michael, I created waiting in line for that.
The person who's ever quoted the movie Michael.
Good evening.
How you doing?
Good. Your name and address, please?
Jay Avant, 5 Kelly Drive. I'm a butter to Nick.
Okay.
I just actually had some questions for the panel and maybe clarify what Nick said earlier. Will guns be
Mr. Chair, we're going to
stored
need
at the
proximity to the microphone, please.
Sold, trade show?
We need you to speak to the, and just you can address here, so Mr. Marion will hear you, and if he,
just kind of curious, will guns be stored at the house that can be sold? Trade show, going over to Maine, any way possible, can those guns be stored at the house under this?
Are there any other questions you might have?
I will have, yeah.
Why don't
based
you
on
give
that.
us a list of them? Mr. Marion, why don't you take that microphone right up there and you can answer those for this gentleman, okay? Go ahead and ask the other ones if you'd like.
I think earlier he mentioned that the answer would be no, he's not using it to sell guns, just to get the registry, so.
Establish a resident address, yep.
Correct, so if at some point they are going to be sold out of the house, is that something that you can put a hold on to not be done? Similar to the lawyer just was.
Yeah, so the board has the ability, if the application prevails, to set conditions. It's up to the board to make that this decision in the deliberative portion of this meeting, which also could get tabled for another evening of decision, but that those kind of conditions can be established.
Is there a time frame on those conditions?
Special exceptions are going to stay with the applicant. And it's not a variance, so it doesn't necessarily stay with the property. So when he leaves, so does the use.
All right, so if 6 months from now he finds a location, it goes to that location.
Yep.
A year, the lease goes up. If he doesn't have a new location, it comes back to his home address, or does he have to come here?
Well,
reapply and go
he
through the
doesn't have a
process?
time limit once the board grants it, unless the board decides to stipulate that as a condition in a unanimous fashion.
Well, I think the question, if I understood this correctly, the question was if
the lease
is granted for the house, that he then gets a building, but then within that 3 years vacates the building, but comes back to the house, does he have to reapply for a special exception again? Or is it within, because he already got it, is it almost like a variance where now he has it?
You want to dive into that one?
It's a good question. I think, and it's something I'm a little confused on. to be honest, regarding how the address works with the license. My understanding is once you get it, or was, and obviously enough to be dangerous here, that when you get it, that address then sits until you have to renew it. And then when you renew it, it goes with it. It goes to the current address. I would think once it vacates the property, we'd have to hear it a second time. I don't think it would be a forever, and I'd put in the Mackey sunset clause, but I don't know if it's even required.
Well, and
I guess I'm kind of thinking out loud, sorry, I'm not really answering it.
And I don't want to talk over Mr. Marion or lead the witness, but I think in his testimony earlier, once he leaves this address, he moves and establishes the business. Am I correct, Mr. Marion? You're welcome to take it from there.
Yeah, so just to answer the question from both parts, my intent is to get a commercial address to run the business. So if in 2 years or 3 years that doesn't work out, I would then do an address change with the ATF, which you could do at any point in time. The license, once granted, it has to be renewed every 3 years. Okay. But at any point in time, you can do an address change, which is how I'm going to go to the commercial building after this. So if that building did fail and I got, didn't pay rent there anymore or whatever it was, I would then request a transfer back to my home address under the same circumstances that I'm asking for right now. Again, would only be for the address, just so that I can still keep my license valid until I find another building. To answer the first question, not to be funny, but I do store weapons at my house already. I'm a New Hampshire resident. I have firearms. I do have a giant 9-bolt safe that is all bolted down. You can't get in. It's fireproof, waterproof, the whole thing. They're my personal weapons. I don't plan on storing any firearms or anything for anybody else. If anything is done at the address, it'll be a transfer, which will basically be, like you were saying to the attorney, I will get possession of the firearm and then transfer it over. It won't be stored at the property. But I don't even want to do that at the property. I just literally want the exception to use the address to get the license.
Any other questions?
So you have guns on your property. If somebody wants to purchase one of your guns,
I cannot sell my own weapons.
I don't know.
No, I've already gone through this with the ATF investigator. It was a whole interview that I had to do because there are, aside of all these rules in here, there are a whole list of rules that I have to follow with the ATF. For example, like a logbook. Just like a tractor trailer driver has to keep a logbook of every little thing they do, so don't I. Doing this, I have to keep a log of everything that I did and everybody I did it with, and that book is subject to check at any time they want. Obviously, if I fail to keep that book, then they revoke my license, et cetera, et cetera. One of the rules is that a licensed FFL holder cannot sell their own weapons. They're my weapons. They're my firearms. I can't sell those through my FFL. I would have to bring it to another FFL and have them do the sale.
Otherwise, you subject your license to loss.
Correct.
Correct, yeah.
So when you acquire a gun or a weapon, is it, you have to register it as personal or for commercial? Is that like a correct understanding?
So when I acquire a firearm, it goes under my New Hampshire residency. So it's just registered to my name. When I acquire a firearm through the FFL, it will be listed to that license number. So it's clearly I'm the holder, but it would be for like very clear to what's mine and what is to the license.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
And I will make a comment myself that, this is, the personal exchange or sale probably happens in more arenas than you're aware of, probably in your neighborhood. And of course, and I do believe, I recall that there is that other dealer that was in the neighborhood. Because I just remember there were seemingly two very close, but it's, 12, 14 years ago. And you obviously don't know that it's going on now. If you have anything else, you all set?
No, I'm good.
Very good. All right, Mr. Marion, why don't you have a seat, and if somebody has another direct question, just to speed this up, we'll bring you up. Anybody else wish to speak in opposition? And good evening, your name and address?
Andrew Carbone, 5 Modine Drive, Derry, New Hampshire.
Good evening.
It's within the Woodlands development.
Yep.
I have a basic question regarding special exception versus the guidance that the zoning board takes relative to a variance. Does that, do you still look to the guidance bullets in terms of when a special exception is requested?
No, so for a special exception versus a variance, they are two completely separate requests. So we have to govern them under two different kind of mantras. So for the variance, like you heard with the shed prior, that when they come up, they speak to the 5 criteria that it has to go to. A special exception is typically, think of the right word, it's more cookie cutter. There's 9 criteria, 9 conditions that just have to be met, the 9 that he read into the record. Then addition to those 9, then what fits within that specific ordinance there, for that area then gives what's allowed for a special exception. So for these types, it's really where a variance, in my opinion, is a lot of gray area. A special exception is very black and white. It's just a matter of whether or not it meets the requirements or if it does not. Okay. Mr. Chair, feel free to correct me if...
No, in fact, Mr. Carbone, or I'll lean over to Ms. Owen if you'd like to. I don't study the book like you have to, but if you want to speak to the difference between the variance, special exception, and how you get to that point for an applicant, feel free.
Sure. So I think Mr. Corbett did an excellent job kind of explaining, but essentially a special exception, as he stated, is 9 key points. So checking off the boxes that it fits within the neighborhood versus the variance is very much about the hardships and the land and the surrounding area. The prior cases that the board has seen in the past for a similar application has been a special exception. And so that's the way that we've kind of continued to look at this moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Additional question. We briefly covered the covenants that are part of the Woodlands, and it was pretty much dismissed as something that this board doesn't either recognize or so. Is there any thought of looking at the covenants from this board relative to the current residents in the neighborhood to ensure that either, number one, there is no problem with either the applicant not complying?
Yeah, as Ms. Owen stated, this becomes more of a civil matter between the association or the structured managers of the covenants versus the property owner. So if this board were to, if the application were to prevail, that would be between the association and the property owner for violating that covenants if they so choose to go that way. The other thing about covenants are that they typically expire after, I think, 19 or 20 years unless they're stipulated differently.
Right, so just a point of clarity there.
Yeah.
So the particular covenants that we have in the Woodlands, and just to be clear, we had our home built in 1988. The covenants were created on February 11th, 1987. And the duration is 50 years.
Okay.
So that brings us to February 11th, 2037.
And that's an exception, by the way, because you don't see that all the time, that kind of time frame. But even at that, this board and the municipality won't get involved between a civil dispute between two different entities, whether it's a homeowner and an association or a homeowner and a business next to it, it's not something that we consider.
So the way I would look at it, you've got, think of it in layers. You've got the federal law, then you'd have a state law, then you'd have a town law, where each of them kind of either tightens it up or can get a little bit looser. We come in to kind of reference the town law. And then, right after us, regardless of how we would go, then your covenant, rules your neighborhood. But that's not something that we have a purview over. We can't enforce a neighborhood purview. We can just enforce kind of the Derry town laws.
Okay.
Our process is by statute, by the way. It's not just something that the town makes up. It's all following state guidelines.
Okay. I think to echo and add a little more substance relative to this particular request, I think I speak with, a lot of other residents in the neighborhood relative to moving in, the desire to, have a home built in the Woodlands. When we moved in, we had a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, moved from Stark Road, was looking to be in the neighborhood. Certainly if, in 1988, if we were aware of someone requesting and having a federal firearms permit and the possibility of selling guns out of the home, we would certainly be looking for another location for our family. I know we heard the intent of the applicant saying that they're looking for a retail premises, but I think I circle back to the point of once you obtain a federal firearms permit, you're legally allowed to sell as you wish at that particular address if you're approved. So with the number of children that we have in the neighborhood, the walkers, the active bikers, and a whole bunch of kids, grandkids, I think this is really a poor location to choose for a particular retail location. We have plenty of gun stores in Derry and in the state, and I think the right thing to do would be for the applicant to acquire a rental space or a building first, then apply for it, to ensure that, there is no miscommunication with, are they selling guns at this location or not? And also, what is there within the town to prevent, once someone gets a federal firearms permit, the enforcement to ensure that guns are not being sold at the property and being purchased as well?
Yeah, so often when the board starts to, when we take input during a hearing, a lot of times it can structure the motion that the approval is done under. And a lot of times those conditions that are there are allowed to give an ease to the neighbors or the entities who may have some level of opposition and still maintain more of a spirit of what's been done in this state versus perhaps the Commonwealth. So the conditions are there as guides, and with the ability that the neighbors in this case would have the ability to have recourse if they felt that the rules, the stipulations were not followed.
Okay, and then just another question. I think the applicant mentioned that, he was, at one point thinking about, some kind of a target range in the backyard. I know from certainly a retail point of view and a consumer point of view, we've all driven to car dealers and test-driven cars. What's there to prevent additional discharge of firearms in a residential area where there are a plethora of kids and adults recreating in the area? It's concerning. It's concerning to me, and I think it's concerning to a lot of residents, and I think you'll hear from some others as well.
Yeah, and recognizing that we do have a few letters here, and appreciate that you've come in so that questions can be asked or this kind of exchange can go on. And that becomes material to any appeals or anything else that could occur from this. So it follows our board policy as well as the statute. I think you had another question in there, and I don't know if I answered it or not, and I don't know if anybody else picked up on it. So unless are you satisfied with the answers to this point, or?
Well, I hope the board considers the fact that, this is one of the few developments in Derry that has covenants, and people moved into with a specific reason for, moving their family. And I think there's another ramification here, and that is, I think it was mentioned that it was the previous owner of this house that was the prior person that was granted an exception. But it was under different circumstances. There were people from the neighborhood that attended that meeting, and it was granted, although it was certainly not in favor of the applicant. And I think this has really broad effects to not only the abutters, but everyone in the development, because when you think about eligible folks that are looking to purchase homes in New Hampshire, maybe coming from other states or other areas, with those potential buyers be now a limited pool, because there is now this new entity in the neighborhood that's has a license to sell retail right at his home.
Well, I think, again, what's been discussed is that the exchange can take place someplace else. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's a volume of vehicles coming, lining up down off of Stark Road, ready to come down Gervais and purchase guns. I'm not seeing that to be the case. And it's not simply because of the testimony that's already been given, but there's a practicality to it, in my view, that some of the concerns that you're expressing aren't necessarily always true. I don't know if that answers your question, but I think in my mind, one of the questions I was getting at a couple of minutes ago, did everything get answered for you, was the 2012 approval that happened at this address. Did you notice a change? Was it any different after that approval occurred?
I mean, it's 14 years later, right? Sure. We have a predominantly different board, right? And, a lot's happened in 14 years, especially with the, it doesn't take a lot to be aware of, turning on the news and having some violence take place. So
Understood.
When I look at positives from businesses and something that will benefit the community, typically gun stores aren't at the top of the list. So,
volleyball dealers.
There we go.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you, and I hope you take this into consideration.
Any questions for Mr. Cardone? Nope. Seeing nobody? Okay, good enough. You all set, Mr. Liscawa?
I'm all set.
Okay, good enough. All right, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak in opposition? And good evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert D'Entremont. I live on 27 Gervais Drive. And after listening to all this testimony tonight, I think it's really coming down to my personal concern, and I suspect it's shared by others in our neighborhood, is the applicant's intent. He states that he has no intention of running a business out of there, but once granted a license, I'm not sure there's anything to prevent him from conducting business out of his home should his efforts to secure a designated location someplace other than his home fail. If it turns out that he can't get one or can't find an acceptable one or it's too expensive to do. And so then if that happens, and my personal concern, and I suspect it is from other people in our neighborhood as well, you start to ask yourself questions about, like, what's the traffic going to be like for his business? How many cars are going to be traveling through? How are you going to protect the goods that you store in your house? Are you going to have an alarm system? Is it going to be video surveillance? How is anybody going to respond if the alarm gets set off? Customers are going to be able to test out their purchases if a transfer actually happens on your property. And you keep saying that I don't have the intention of doing it, but I also heard you say tonight that I wouldn't be doing anything more than transferring a gun from my possession to somebody else's. Well, that's business. And so I just worry a little bit about the intent. I'm not saying that he has bad intentions, but to me, saying that you have no intention of running a business and not running a business are two different things. That's my concern.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
I got a question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Tripp.
Did you submit written testimony?
I did not.
Okay, thank you.
And it's not held against you either, by the way.
Oh, we've got piles of paper, and I'm just trying to match paper with whoever sent it.
Right. I mean, I'm certainly happy to do that, but I suspect you have enough.
No, well,
we have a clerk that takes minutes, so, yeah, very good, thank you. Anybody else in opposition? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Cindy Carbone, and Andy and I'm his wife, I actually spoke in 2014. And I had little kids then. They were 4 and 2. We moved to Derry for Pinkerton, for schools, and then we lived on Stark Road. We watched that development be built, and we decided to move our kids. And it was one of the best things we ever did. It's an excellent neighborhood. It's quiet, it's safe, and constantly more people move in with young children. And they expect a neighborhood that's quiet. There's walkers, there's strollers, there's bikers, there's rollerbladers. Even in the winter, there's bikers. Okay? It's a friendly family neighborhood. And I'm sorry, I know the gun is a sport. It's a sport. But I feel that there's a place for it. And it bothers me tonight, and I'm sorry, I am emotionally upset. It bothers me tonight that I hear that he's already wanted to have a gun range in the neighborhood.
Well, let me clear that up. He asked as a neighbor to his other neighbor if he would mind. The neighbor objected, and he complied. He didn't push it.
Yes, but I'll tell you, I have been in this neighborhood now for 38 years. And I hear more gunshots than I ever heard before. And I'm sorry, we have a climate in this country that doesn't favor gun control. And I live in a neighborhood, and I would like to not hear guns. And I'll tell you another thing. I skied with my granddaughter, 4 years old. And I said, oh, look at the snow guns. Do you know what she said to me?
No.
She said, Mimi, there are no guns in my school. These kids today are upset. They wonder every day, and so do the parents, are they coming back? Is there going to be another school shooting? It's not funny anymore.
But we don't control that.
No, I know, that's going a little bit beyond. But I'll tell you.
I said, whoa. This is an even exchange back and forth, and it's not going to be yelling.
Okay, I apologize for that.
But you are talking about some constitutional value here, and I understand exactly what your husband was talking about. Even the concerns down in Pawtucket a couple of days ago bother me greatly, but you cannot take and blend what your 4-year-old at school is saying as to how it manipulates the lifestyle of everybody in America.
Okay, but I purchased that home with covenants 38 years ago, it didn't say that there would be people selling guns in the neighborhood.
I understand.
And I know his intent is not to do it in the neighborhood, but he hasn't found a property outside the neighborhood. He gets the license. He wanted to have a target practice in his backyard. To me, it looks like things are moving in the direction that are concerning to me and uncomfortable.
I think all he wanted to do was ask if he could discharge his weapons in his backyard, and he complied with his neighbor, and he didn't do it.
Well, if this goes through, there will have to be a serious list of things that should not be done in a residential neighborhood with guns.
Okay.
Because young people trying to raise their kids in the climate of today don't deserve to buy into a neighborhood where they have a covenants, because everyone that purchased a home in this neighborhood reads the covenants, or they should. It should be read.
Okay.
And so this is the second time I've spoken on this, and I don't think it's fair to have someone purchase a home, read the covenants, and not have the respect for the people that have been in that home, in the neighborhood for over, there are people longer than I have been in there, 39, 40 years. And we all moved in, we all read that covenants, we all wanted the health and safety of children. It's a very, very family-oriented neighborhood, and we all care for the welfare of children. And people right around me have just moved in and are concerned about wanting to have a very nice child safety neighborhood. Increased traffic, intentions which are not totally outlined, and some desires that make me uncomfortable.
Do you realize, and I'm just going to make this as a side point, the individual that intervened in Pawtucket ends up with 9 stitches on his hand because he charges the shooter. People don't come after people that have guns. I just want to put that out there as a fair balance. And I understand your concern about children, believe me. But all I hear is the emphasis about children's safety here, and I haven't heard anything that suggests that this application is going to be in opposition of children's safety. And I think my point here about this shooter in Pawtucket is that the guy that charged him and didn't run away, challenged this guy, is what saved other lives. And I think that emphasis is a fair balance to what you're trying to contrast.
I don't see that as to the issue here. I'm sorry, I don't really see
Well,
it.
and likewise, you're losing me on the 4-year-olds that are scared at school that there aren't guns there.
I'm talking about hearing guns.
Okay.
Like, do you want to have children over to your house that do gun drills in school, and you're in the backyard, and what do they hear? Gun shooting?
But that's not relevant to this application.
Well, there is an uncomfortable feeling that things aren't clear. There's a lot of gray area here, a lot of gray area. So I'm just honestly telling you, I'm uncomfortable with all of the gray area.
Okay.
Also, in New Hampshire, anyone can have a gun. He wants it, it's going to be all documented, it's all on paper. Like, for anyone knows, I could have 100 guns if that's how many I want to own. Because we're in New Hampshire, nobody has to know. And I can go into Walmart with all of them. There's nothing stopping me. What he wants to do, not at his house, it's all tracked, it's all in a book, something that he has to keep track of for 20 years. It's not something that he just keeps track of for a day.
Well, the gray area that I heard was he wants to get the license. What if he happens to have a gun that somebody wants to purchase, and then he hasn't established an outside structure? Then it looks to me like there could be some exchange right in the home.
Right, absolutely. And then you guys call the ATF, and they're a lot stronger than anybody in this room.
Well, sometimes it's a lot easier to stop something in the beginning than to get it started, and then it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. So that's all I'm trying to say, and I'm just expressing how I personally feel. I appreciate all of you for listening, and I know that the whole issue is concerning to a lot of mothers and families and children, and, you know, even to suicide.
Oh, I've never touched a gun a day in my life, so I totally
Yeah,
get it.
and I'm used to guns. I went to school where they all left for the weekend because they hunted. And the person I worked with at the library used his gun to kill himself. So I'm sorry, but, you know, some people love guns. I just happen to not be I don't use guns for sports.
Unfortunately, our personal feelings can't supersede their constitutional rights.
Mr. Chair, can I
Yes, sir,
ask a question?
Mr. Tripp, you may.
Right.
Okay.
Now, this is in regards to you hearing gunshots.
Yes, I hear them in my
All right,
backyard.
That's a yes or no question.
Yes, I do hear
Okay,
them.
Thank you. I don't want to argue with you, all right? So you've heard gunshots in the woodlands.
No, I can't say that. I'm
Okay, all right,
saying
thank
that,
you.
I'm saying that
So-
in my backyard, I don't know, they could be coming from, I can't pinpoint, and I'm not going to say that because I don't know where they're coming from.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was trying to
No,
ascertain.
no accusations, but also I have a friend on Stark
You've answered my
Road.
question.
Yeah.
That you
no,
hear gunshots, but you don't know where they're coming from.
Right, I'm
Okay,
not
thank
gonna,
you.
I'm not
Thank you.
gonna accuse anyone.
Thank you.
I don't know where they're coming from.
You all set, Ms.
Yeah,
Carbone?
yeah, thank you very much for listening, I
Does
appreciate
anybody
it.
else have any questions? No, we're all set. Thank you. Anybody else opposition, please?
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Eleftheria Keynes, and I live at 28 Gervais.
Thank you.
I do oppose this exception. I echo many of what my neighbors and the lawyer representing the neighbors, oh, that's weird to see yourself in the big screen, have said. That I think the exceptions that are in the RSA are pretty clearly not retail businesses. They're other things. They're real estate, doctor, lawyer. Those are, you know, they're doing paperwork at home or making phone calls.
Not
They're
to
not
interrupt
having.
you, those aren't statutes, they're ordinances.
Oh, I'm sorry, ordinances,
That's fine.
thank you. That those are things they're doing paperwork or calling people, but they're not having retail things at their home. They're not having customers come to their homes for those types of businesses. And so I think the intent there is clearly that where our neighborhood is, it's not zoned and intended to be retail. And I do understand that we have heard, both in the, in the paperwork and from the applicant, that it's not the intent to have a retail business there, but unless this board can and does limit any exception and specifically says there is to be no retail there, then I think what the current request is would allow it, as other speakers have said. That is what it appears. If it's just granted as written, I guess right now, it seems like it would allow retail, and our neighborhood just shouldn't have a retail business of any kind. And so if you are going to approve an exception, I would ask you to keep the idea of the ordinance in the mind of not having retail and limit it so that there would not be retail in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you. Anybody else on opposition? Say again? Okay. Good evening, your name?
Hi, I'm Ellison Weiner. I live on Long Ave. I just was curious, so he said he went to his abutter, one abutter, to ask about the target range. That neighbor said no. So then he goes to a second neighbor to ask if he can do the target range towards their yard. That neighbor said yes. But then he said he's never even used it. If you never even used it, why would you go to two different neighbors?
Because his position on it is that you have to be so many yards from a structure or a home. And his convenience, his first convenience is what I'm understanding was to the Phelan residents, and they said no, and he needed it by 10 feet. And so he went to the other neighbor and said, do you mind if I come closer to you so I can discharge my weapon? That was what he said.
Okay, but then he said he hasn't even used it. So is he telling me his intent is not to use it, but you've also gone to 2 different neighbors to get that?
If I may, my interpretation of this, and at first it admittedly raised a concern when I read it in the letter, and what it looked like to me was that, establishing the backyard gun range was going to be part of what this application is for tonight. It was going to be part of the business. What I took from the testimony and what I think we'll ask Mr. Marion to kind of get back when he gets up here, I took that as that was just him looking at his regular rights outside of this, that within the New Hampshire state law, he's allowed to shoot in the backyard, but he has to be X amount of feet or yards away from a structure. I think they were just 2 unrelated things, and regardless of what happens tonight, I don't know if, even if a denial of the license were to happen, I don't think there's anything that could be done about that. I think that's outside of the board's purview altogether.
Okay.
And I just wanted to state that portion of it because I do think that they were just completely, while I understand the concern, absolutely, I do think they were just 2 separate things. I just wanted to detail that.
That, and I believe that ranges have a really, really long waiting list, so it could have just been asking because of that.
Ask him.
Yeah, when he comes back up.
Okay.
So the reason I brought that up is because of his intent. He's saying he hasn't even shot there, but he went to 2 different people to ask. So his intent is not to shoot, but you're going to go get 2 neighbors' approval? So that goes back to his intent for the store.
I think it's slightly different, and I understand where you're going with that. I guess where I would look at, and just kind of the way I'm looking at it, where I'd look at the range portion or that one, I go in my backyard to hit my golf balls. I've asked my neighbor to the left if they mind if I kind of hit them in that direction. I didn't think I'd hit their house. They told me no anyways. I asked my other neighbor if I could just kind of aim at his house because he was going to see me doing it. It wasn't that I thought I was going to take out a house, but it was just to get ahead of me doing that as a neighbor. That's how I look at that one. As far as his intention of selling within the house, I think as we heard from the last abutter and as kind of the board had floated before, there are conditions the board could put in or that could be kicked around that could prevent that. So while there are, the intention, that is something that could be, as we form our motion, could come up.
Right, well, I just want to show that, he can say that, he hasn't even shot there, but he went to 2 different neighbors. So that intent doesn't seem to add up. The intent for this, he doesn't intend to sell them from his house. But his intent didn't equal there. I don't know if the intent is going to equal here either. If he finds out it's too expensive to rent anywhere, if he finds out he can't find the proper place, well, maybe he'll just might move it into his home. Would you guys want this in your neighborhood if you had kids?
So if they put as a stipulation, then he would have to come back here. You guys would all be notified again if he wanted to change something. So if they put that he can do something on it, then that's what he can or can't do.
Who's monitoring that? Yeah, you tell me he's filling out a log. He can put anything on the log. Who's checking the log?
I think a point that was made earlier is that exchange of weapons probably happens more than you know in New Hampshire.
I understand, but this is something I know about. If I know about something else, I'll fight for my neighborhood.
Yeah, I think, in hearing you keep going back to the asked one neighbor, then asked another. It's a point of discharge that's happening. That's why he's asking the permission from one, and he decides to shift to the other and say to him, do you mind if my point of discharge is 10 feet closer to your house than the law says I can?
But I'm really not, I'm trying to show, yes, he went to 2 different places, but then he said, I haven't even used it. So is his intent not to use it, but he goes to do 2 different people. So his intent isn't equaling that. And I just want to show the relevance to his intent for not selling out of his house, they're just not equaling up to me. Like, it's not equaling up. And the first time, his intent to ask 2 different people but not use it, to getting a license to not sell in his house and not use it. Those aren't equaling. That's what I'm just trying to show. So it's not adding up.
And just for the record, I don't want you to think that my golf ball reference was to minimize this at all. That was just what popped into my head as an example.
All right, anybody have any questions? Very good, thank you.
Just, do you guys want this in your neighborhood?
I have one in mind. And
Anybody else opposition?
Hello.
Hi.
My name is John Overton. I live on 13 Gervais Drive. I've actually used the Marions for construction work in my house. They do great work. Happy with their work as far as that goes. My question to this group is, do you have the ability to say that he cannot sell guns or conduct that type of retail business out of the home? Do you have that discretion? Yes, you can get the license, but no, you cannot exchange the firearms out of your house.
Yeah, I think that we described that about, maybe 20 minutes ago.
So
that the board has that ability to structure conditions based on what abutters or other people's concerns, and often those are there to give recourse where there's concerns such as what we're hearing here. Well, we're concerned about traffic, we're concerned about, other aspects, and so those stipulations are put in there that give you recourse if you see something different.
Okay, so in one regard, I have no opposition to Mr. Marion wanting to have a business, but if there's restrictions that could be put in place as far as exchange of firearms, I have opposition. So,
okay.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Hey, Mitt.
Yep, Mr. Tripp has a question for you. Mr. Tripp?
So you have an issue with not him having a license?
I have no concern with him having a license to conduct a business.
All right, that's good. But you do have an issue with him conducting business in his home.
Exchange of firearms or sale of firearms within the home, I have a concern. Because it can bring other unwarranted risk to the neighborhood. If you know that there's weapons and he's advertising that he's a firearms dealer and it's conducted out of the business, you may attract unsavory people wanting to go to his home. So I'm a little nervous about that.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but so you do not have a problem with him having a license?
I don't have a problem with him having a license.
Right. But you do have a problem with him conducting a business out of this type of business out of his home?
This type of business, I wouldn't have a problem with him having it in a retail location in a strip mall or something like that. I would have no concern whatsoever. It's just the location being a residential neighborhood.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Opposition? Okay. Mr. Marion, you can come back up, but feel free to rebut anything that you've heard.
I just want to be clear on a couple of things that I heard from the opposers. I haven't shot in the backyard, which I can do so legally, because I do meet my 300-foot setback from any dwelling around me. I haven't done it because it was something that I wanted to do, and even still knowing that my neighbors, the felons, didn't want me to do it, I just haven't done it. I don't necessarily have to do it there. Would I like to use my right as a New Hampshire citizen and shoot in my backyard? Yes. One neighbor didn't like it. I'll be honest, when I called him about it, he was very rude, I asked him nicely. He was very rude. I said, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. I won't do it. And then it got under my skin a little bit, and that's why I called the other neighbor and said, hey, can I move your way? He said yes. So legally I can. I still don't want to upset anybody in the neighborhood. That's not what I'm trying to do. I moved to the neighborhood 8 years ago, and we love the neighborhood. As far as kids go, my son's sitting in the back row behind me. Granted, he's an adult. Just got married last year. He's still lives with me, and he's ready to have children. So there's going to be more children in the neighborhood. I have 3 dogs. A bunch of the neighbors have dogs. I understand that things are running around the neighborhood, bikers, kids, animals, whatever. I have no issue with that. I just want to state again, like I said earlier, there is closer to the people opposing than to me in the neighborhood, another FFL license on that street. So if they're unaware of that, and I can tell you, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I've purchased firearms from that FFL.
Okay.
So he is doing it there, legally, but he is doing it there. That's not what I want to do. But if they never noticed him doing it, not sure how they'd ever notice if I did. Not that I will, but that's their concern, but there's already one there. The guy on the corner of Mill Road that has the firing range in his yard literally shoots at 7 a.m. He's 2 houses away from me, on my bedroom side of the house. He wakes me up all the time. He's shooting fully automatic weapons. He's not even supposed to have them.
No.
But he does. And nobody else says anything about that. I've never discharged a weapon, and I think I've pleaded my case for what I wanted to do pretty safely for the neighborhood.
The 3-year review on your license, this just is an automatic thing the ATF does, correct?
It's an expiration.
Yes, and so I think I'm circling back to a question that was asked earlier, which is, you know, if you transfer your license or your address, your business address to West Broadway, right, and you start selling out of there, and you decide that, well, it's financially not something that works out, but you hit that 3-year mark. What happens in that scenario?
It's my option if I want to renew my license or not.
But does the ATF come in, and by the way, I have a federal license as well for something, and it has nothing to do with firearms. But I go through the same process every 3 years. I have to re-up, and but I would think that in your case, you probably have to do more than just say, yeah, I'm still here and I'm going to oblige by the rules.
Correct. So as far as the ATF goes, as part of my, I don't know the word, part of what I have to follow.
Recertification?
Right. They expire the license in 3 years. All I need to do is pay and renew it. But they do perform random pop-up FFL holder checks once a year. So they will be coming to my property and inspecting to make sure of anything else. So like some of the people were saying, how do we know he's not selling out of the house? Make it a condition, and the ATF's going to follow that because they'll come in and see what I'm doing.
You know, it's an interesting point, too, because the state police, Department of Safety, when they grant inspection stations, they are looking for variances and make sure that the variances are being upheld or special exceptions to those facilities. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, Ms. Owen, but I think I've described to you I have. But so it's kind of interesting that agency kind of looks at those conditions like as the town would establish permission for somebody to run such an outfit. So it makes sense.
From my research, I saw that they won't grant a license without the permission from the town.
Correct.
There was a couple things, because I know nothing about guns at all.
No, but you're absolutely right. I had my meeting back in the beginning of February with the ATF investigator. They have not granted me my license yet because you guys have not granted me permission for the special acceptance. That is her last stipulation. I've passed every other part of what I need to do, and she has it on hold. She said once I either get approval or denial, I contact her, and it's either no good and I wasted all my money, or they approve it, or you approve it, and then they approve the license.
Yeah.
And then I just want to touch back on the logbook. This is a big thing for them, because at every time they do a pop-up inspection, they need to look at this log. And it is a federal offense for me to log anything in that book incorrectly. If they catch any one wrong note, it is a federal offense. I could go to jail for 5 years. And this is some of the stuff that she had told me. And also that book stays with me. You had said 20 years. That book stays with me for life. Whether I have the license anymore or not, I had the license at one point. I kept records. I am liable to keep that book for life.
Yeah, and I do know, by the way, in 2 other instances where there's been issues with logbooks and they have constituted a close of a business. Okay. All right, anything else you want to share with the board?
Nope.
Anything from the board wish to?
Yeah, I would like to say. Yeah. Go, Mr. Grani.
With the logbook, do you actually put where you do the transaction, or just the serial number of the gun, the person, and their address?
That one, I don't want to say an absolute answer. I believe I have to put all my information, my address, where the transfer took place, to who it took place, all their information. I'm required to run a NICS check on them. I'm required to submit all the paperwork to the state police. Like, everything has to be logged. So without saying I'm 100%, I'm 98% sure that yes, I have to log where the transfer or sale was done. So if it was done at my address, it would be in that book.
All right, thank you.
How much of a review is that makes it available to the public beyond the ATF?
Say that again?
How much of a review is available to the public of your books beyond just the Bureau?
It's, again, I don't want to answer incorrectly. I don't know. As far as I know, it was a specific book that I had to get. It's a federal book. I don't know if neighbors or anything have a right to see that. I don't know that.
Okay. Anybody else down the right? Mr. Obimba, you all set?
For now, I have questions during.
Folks down the left, anything?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd like to say a couple things. First and foremost, I'd like to say thank you for not chiming in when everybody was giving the rebuttal. Shows professionalism. I think the biggest concern here is making the community feel safe. They don't want to see this in their neighborhood where, people are coming and going, especially that type of clientele. You mentioned that at one point, I heard at the beginning that you were trying to maybe do some online sales in the meantime. So does that mean that you would be having a couple guns stored there? Because I think that's what their concern is. They want no operations. Now, keep in mind that we can make stipulations if it were to prevail, or the other way around. So I just want a little more clarification on that, because I think that they are looking to not really want it, but I understand where you're coming from and dotting your I's and crossing your T's.
So, like we had said earlier about the trade shows and stuff like that, I could do transfers there, sales there. If I did online sales, I could always set it up to go to a trade show somewhere and do that process there. If I did an online sale at the property, I would receive the firearm, and then I would then have to transfer it. So in that case where all the neighbors are asking to not do that kind of thing at the property, that is not something that I would be doing. If I did, I would obtain the weapon, the firearm, and then I would bring it to a trade show or another FFL area to do the transfer or whatever we needed to do.
Okay. And I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Sure. Yes, sir.
So I've got a couple questions for you. Kind of taking it back again, the special exception versus the variance. So looking at, the points, the two conditions that I'm kind of really stuck on, that I'd like to hear. How do we feel that getting the license, meets the definition of what's allowed, as a special exception within the area? And then two, how does it go with the business that's already existing in property? Because right off the bat, just before we get to deliberative, I see a couple that I have a very tough time checking those boxes before we get there. So I'd kind of let you speak to those.
Well, I guess the answer is like I had said earlier, I don't intend on running the second business out of that home. It's literally a address for me to have my license, just like my driver's license, or if I went to the town hall and obtained a firearm license to carry, which we don't need here, but they do have them. I'm actually going to do that also, just to be more legit in town. I do also hold a Massachusetts non-resident firearm license. I try to do everything right. I'm a small business owner. I do have firearms, and I carry them because I carry money, and that's my right, and I'm licensed and all legal to do it. But I don't have any intent on, and I know maybe intent isn't the right word. I am not going to be running a second business from my home. My construction company is ran out of the home. Again, it's literally parking in an office with a desk. I don't have clients come there. I don't do anything like that. I don't have any intention on running it out of there again. The ATF will not issue me the license without an address, like any other document ID,
It has to be a physical address on a PO box.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, and then,
because I do also have a PO box for my company that I could have used if but they won't accept that. It has to be the physical address, and it has to be, because I don't have a commercial store to put it in, it has to be my residential address.
okay. So here with that answer, the construction business could potentially go under the PO box, which possibly, not to answer for you, potentially be the alleviation of number 9, which I was asking, but I guess.
So I guess to answer that, the construction company technically is under the PO box. I do not have any of my company paperwork mailed to the address. I obviously mail out things from the house because I put them in the mailbox and they go. But all my company mail goes to my PO box, which is in Massachusetts, not even here. Even if I moved it over, the only reason why I did the state certificate of business for the address is just so that when I moved in, and again, this isn't really relevant to this, but when I moved in, I'm a construction company. I have a 20-foot trailer, and it's fully lettered. I'm a giant billboard driving down the street. When I first moved in, all the neighbors were in conspiracy that I was buying it, flipping it, and et cetera, and they didn't want that in their neighborhood. And I understood that. That wasn't my intent. 8 years later, I'm still there. I did some remodeling on my new house that I had just bought because that's what I do for a living. Why not? So I did the certification with the state just so that when my 20-foot trailer was parked, there wasn't an issue. I, again, tried to do everything legally.
And then I guess where I'm stuck as well, as far as the part A, the definitions for the business, being that it's not necessarily the business, being applied for, it's a license. I guess I just don't understand how a license applies. If we are to separate the two, that's just where I can't wrap my brain around it.
It's one of those fine gray areas, right? The applicant not be dismissive of the abutters and their concerns. But quite often, and you can start to run into constraints. The car wash a few weeks ago, right? The staff is obligated to follow what is written in the ordinances, but there's massive gray areas. The gray area here is that there's not a lettered vehicle that's advertising the sale of guns. This is a formality which is just an address. It's an established address, I would believe, probably to make sure they know where to find you if the wheels come off the bus, right? And so in that regard, you're almost in the same situation as the HVAC guy that pulls in at the end of the day but works for a company out of Massachusetts, right? Their lettered van is there every day, but there's really no sales going on. There's no customer correspondence there, right? This is that same kind of gray area, in my view. Not that I'm making my mind up on this at this point, but I think this is a similar kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess the other question I'd have, so you had mentioned the ATF had come out, they did everything, the last step is just to get the exception. If you were to find a commercial property, how long does that process take to have them come out to review that area? If you were to wait until you found a location to get this license?
I'm not exactly sure on how long it takes, but I can tell you that from the moment I put in my application, I had my meeting about 3.5 weeks later. So I'm sure it wasn't long, and they did tell me that if I have to do a transfer of address, it's immediate. So I don't know the exact answer to that question, but I would think that they'd be able to transfer quickly.
Because I guess, with that one, as I go, as I'm wrestling with the conditions of it and kind of how the 9 things are detailed, to me, much like when we get a purchase and sale agreement, when someone comes in to turn a property to a 2-family, when it's a 1-family zoned, those people are filing typically a month out and that purchase and sale stays open. So just to get a license, just to transfer it somewhere else, I don't know. I don't see why we couldn't just find the location and then do it all the way through, rather than need an exception for this just to then transfer it.
Well, my reasoning for that is that a commercial building like that could be a few $1,000s a month, and I'm going to have to sign a minimum of a year lease.
Right, but the condition of the purchase of it, like we've seen when because we have people that come to us all the time with a purchase and sale, that's a condition of it is that they get our variance. So what would prevent something like that if you were to get a commercial unit that your condition to be that you were then granted if you needed a variance, because you may not even
I wouldn't have to be doing any of this right now had I just went and got the commercial building, but I'm not prepared to go and spend all this money and sign a year lease that I now have to back out of because I go and ask for the license that I can't get, and I have to pay a year of a lease that I can't even use. Because when you back out of a lease, I still got to pay that lease.
Do you have the stipulations that you can, essentially what I'm thinking that you're doing here is this is seed money essentially, or seed space to get yourself established.
I'm just trying to get started. Like I had said in the beginning, I've been in construction for 30 years. I've owned my business for 25. I've fallen off of roofs and broken things. I was literally on a couch for 9 months with plates in my wrists, and I want to get out of the trade.
Yep.
I enjoy firearms. I know some people don't, but I do, and I would enjoy opening a store. My father-in-law is also a very avid firearm guy. He would love to work at a store with me, and so I'm just trying to think of an easier way to retire than, falling off a roof at 65.
But what prevents you from just going down the street? There's a smoke shop that emptied out, and going to that owner and saying, I'd like to, rent this space conditional upon an approval of an FFL license.
Well, I guess the only answer I have to that is that it depends on the zoning board, to if I can be approved in that building or not for a firearms store.
And I get it, but somewhere there's a building out there with your name on it, right?
I would hope.
Yeah. And so what's to prevent you from now going, just right now, if this board said no on this application, for you to go find a zone that this is approved in, be able to open up your business and tell the ATF, can you come here, review what I've got, give me permission if I establish this?
So I guess the only thing stopping me for that is funds. Like I said, I've owned my own business 25 years. It's myself, my wife, and my son now that he's old enough. I'm not rich. I honestly don't even have a great retirement because of the construction trade, and I was a small business. I'm just trying to do what I can without, if I go and get this building and everything, well, then maybe I got to sell my house next year because I can't afford it. Because I went out for this building and, I'm just trying to make sure that I have my ducks in a row, and, like people were saying before, I'm not putting the cart before the horse. That doesn't make any sense.
But then in that same scenario, and I don't like getting into hypotheticals, but that same scenario, we granted for the house, you end up in the commercial unit that you then can't afford, and you have to go back to the house. Then how does that change things if the conditions that nothing can sell from the house?
It would be the same stipulations that if you approved it tonight. If you approved it now, saying that I can use the address to be able to get the license, but I can't sell or run a business there. If I go get a building and then can't do it and have to put the license back to my address, I would expect that I would be following the same stipulations. Doesn't mean that I'm gonna open it in my house. I can't do that. I'll be honest with you, I don't have room in my house to do it. It wouldn't even happen anyways. But I don't know, I'm just trying to make sure that I wanted to make sure that I could get the license, get everything I needed, get accounts with different suppliers, and then go and get my building and try to start a new business to retire with. That's my whole objective.
Any other questions, Mr. Corbett?
Not at this time. I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's all right. If everybody's all set, we can move into, almost move to deliberation. If this board were to put a condition of no retail exchanges at your residence, that works for you?
That's acceptable.
Online sales only?
Sure.
Those may be redundant. Thinking forward, would there be any other conditions that the board would want to put on that we might want to make sure the applicant would be acceptable with if the board approved it? Mr. Obimba?
I have a question.
Mr. Tripp, yes, sir.
I believe you said that he could sell guns online from his residence?
Online sales only was a suggestion for a condition to the motion.
Yep, all right. So,
You can't transfer online.
Yeah, I guess that may be redundant. It's no retail exchanges at the residence.
So when you do an online sale, I've done them for myself personally. When you do an online purchase like that, it has to go to an FFL to get transferred.
Exactly.
You can't do the actual transfer online, but the purchase is done online, and then the background check and all that, and the transfer is done in person, and you literally just hand them a box, and it's all locked. Everything comes locked. They have to be locked. That's another stipulation with the ATF. If I do have any firearms in my house that do not have trigger lock and magazine locks, I am in violation of my license.
Is that wording okay? Because from what I read, which is the internet, so it might not be true, it said that it can't appear that you only sell online to have an or the FFL license. I just don't want you to go through all this for to say no.
I haven't read that. I had actually, when the ATF agent came to my house, I had explained all that I wasn't going to be doing it here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I was going to do it online. She didn't stop me and say anything that I couldn't.
I actually have a quick question, just to be clarified. So if you get the license.
Mr. Chair, if we could use the microphone.
Mr. Dragani, get the mic on.
Oh, do I? Yeah? Oh, it got loose, sorry. So you get deals with the dealers so that you can sell online, per se, just, you can have them send it to another FFLA for them to pick it up. So if they're not in your area, that type of sale is what I'm talking, I think we want to clarify when you say online sales. You can not actually ever have it at your residence, but you could be the dealer. Someone orders a gun, they live in another town, another area, you would send it to their recommended FLL person to now, for them to pick it up.
So I would technically be their FFL in that case, because they would be purchasing the gun through me. I have to transfer it somewhere.
Which would be to another.
Which would be to another FFL dealer, which then I would meet them at their store, pay a transfer, and nothing was done at my address other than literally an online.
That's what I was just clarifying, like an online purchase is.
Yep.
Multitude of different ways to end up doing it. That's all I'm trying to clarify.
You satisfied there, Mr. Donovan?
Sir, I was satisfied before. But I was just clarifying that even though, like, so in this analogy that we were just kicking around, if you were to fill out the paperwork at your house, that would be a transfer at your residence, right?
I wouldn't fill out the paperwork at my house.
I understand that. I'm just saying that's
If I did, it would be a transfer from my residence,
which
correct?
would, in effect, be a transfer at your residence, right? To just say it again. Yes.
I wouldn't actually be doing the transfer at that point. If I'm buying the firearm and then selling it to
not
somebody.
if you are buying it. I don't care how many palmettos you send to your house. You're free to do that all day long.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if I came to your house, if I bought something off your website, showed up at your house, signed the paperwork there, that would be a transfer at your residence, correct?
Correct. I wouldn't have it done that. I would have it transferred to another FFL.
Exactly.
Right. So it wouldn't be done at the address.
Right. Okay. Everyone's clear?
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Okay, so no retail exchanges at the residence. Okay.
I'd like to propose no discharge at the residence, as some of the concern that we heard. It's kind of blurring those lines.
That one's actually a constitutional right.
Well, if we're going to be granting a license to the house, though, I think we're now able to.
Right, but that would be my resident. That has nothing to do with the actual license itself. That's me having a constitutional right in the state of New Hampshire. I don't feel comfortable with you taking away my constitutional right because of that.
Then I wouldn't be comfortable giving you a license to the property.
Okay. I mean, I guess if that's, but I don't find that to be fair. I've already said that I'm not going to discharge, but legally I can. So I don't find it fair that my constitutional right gets taken away like that.
Again, I don't feel that we've met the definition of what's allowed here. I think that we have a lot of unknown, a lot of gray area for 9 dots that we're checking. So, got to give to get, in my opinion, but I would defer to the board.
Okay. I see a hand raised in the back, and I'll permit an address come up to the spare mic.
My name is Robert D'Archmont. I live on 27 Gervais Drive. So, I mean, we hear a lot of talk tonight about the applicants not having any intention of conducting a business here, but here we are talking about online transfers, online sale of guns and or ammunition. And so I'm wondering if this happens and he's fully within his legal rights to do it, if he gets granted a license, does this mean that there's going to be a storage of guns in his home that online people can look at and decide whether they want to purchase?
Well, I think he's already described that he has a storage of guns. They're his own personal weapons. You wish to clarify that, Mr. Dragani?
I just wanted to just go off to Mr. Corbett's talking about the gun range. We're talking about a temporary, having the license temporarily, so would that restriction be that temporarily? He wouldn't be able to shoot on his property?
As long as the license is at the house.
That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
once that gets transferred to someone else, he would have his rights back for whichever way he wanted to go.
I'll agree with that. I just don't feel that my constitutional rights should be taken away completely, but.
Oh, no, not
if-
permanently,
if
just
the-
as the
if
business or-
If the
yeah.
statute says that, while I have that FFL registered at that address, fine. I'll agree with that.
Yeah, not looking to impede for the next 50 years.
We're just trying to separate
No, right,
business from your personal life.
Yeah, thank you
Correct.
for that clarification, Mr. Triani.
You're welcome.
Mr. Donlin, understanding you're the secretary, you'll have to start doing some right.
Oh, yeah. That's right. You picked a good one, didn't you?
I don't think we're there yet, but anyway,
Butter up my quill.
anybody?
Well, if, someone with rhinestones and jewels come in, I'll take that one.
Okay.
All right.
Fair enough.
You all set?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Let's take a motion, go into deliberation, please.
So moved.
Mr.
Second.
Tripp makes the motion, Mr. Donlin has a second. All in favor of deliberation, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Anybody want to start the discussion off?
I just lost my page.
And I'll start with it. As I've stated, I've got a tough time with it, really just looking at the definitions for the special exception. It seems that this is really veered more into a variance, and I don't feel that it really meets the definitions of what would be, allowed for a profession to kind of get the exception. And I have a very tough time that it's just to be a placeholder too with this much unknown. That again, we see a lot of properties that come in with the conditions of the sale to be that one last approval has to take place. And to hear that, these guys come in within 3.5 weeks to conduct the approval, I don't understand why that couldn't be a condition for a commercial space. And I just have a tough time, as I look into, 9 boxes to check, that I've got at least 2 question marks on them. That I'm just having a very tough time with that portion of it. I think even with the further conditions being set.
It's a duplication of a business at one residence, the other being,
It just doesn't meet the definition of what's an allowed business for an exception.
okay, got it. I think going back to, not that I'm saying you're right or wrong, but going back to the car wash
Actually,
a few weeks ago, right?
That hit a technical definition of repairman.
Yeah, no, I
As we
get
went
it.
with it, and that's why that one really differentiated, is the car wash was designed to meet that criteria, for ordinance laws, that they specifically wrote the definition of a car wash to meet it, when you look into repairman. And as I look at this, it just doesn't meet any of the detailed definitions.
Yeah, I think that it's one of those things where I don't know what the intention of getting a federal firearms license is that in their viewpoint, everybody that decides to become a federal firearms dealer is Bacon's Sporting Shop down the road, which has been there since 1900 and whatever. And I guess recently has closed up. But there's that gray area, right? That when ordinances are written, are they going to be able to keep up with every stipulated business that's floating around out there? Is this one of those things where a firearms license or a firearm dealer just slips the mind and never comes to focus? Or is it one of those things that they don't bother with because the higher authority is just that, it's the higher authority? That never dawns on anybody to write it into the ordinances. And so I just use that car wash thing as, the staff is obligated to follow what's written in the book, hence it ends up on our lap, right?
Oh, right, but I guess, just with that, which one of these definitions do you see firearm retail coming off of? It's clearly not clergy. It's not an artsman or a lawyer. Again, the car wash comes off of repairman, and that definition was written there. For the examples given, there's nothing here that really even implies that, honestly, firearms are ever part of it. It's looking at a profession, an accountant and an office, a home-based office, are really the definitions. I feel like that's what it was designed as.
Yep. Something that would keep a minimum impact into a neighborhood or strict zone. And I understand that. And like I said earlier, this seems to have that gray area where it's just not hitting, for me, it's not hitting every angle that could be in the ordinance book, right? It bounces off between a bunch of them, like a ball, between two tight walls. It just doesn't ever stick in one spot. Mr. Obimba, have any thoughts?
I beg to differ with you. Comparison with the car wash definition from last week, just on the points that Vice Chair here has raised. If you look at this, I think they're clearly distinguishing between, offering goods, physical goods versus services, right? And then when you look at all the listed professions here, they seem to, skew towards offering a service. There's no physical thing being exchanged. So that clearly, removes the grayness, and it makes it a very clear demarcation of
physical function.
Yes. So that was my first concern there. It's a physical thing being exchanged that is not allowed, even if we try to extend that definition like we did last meeting with the car wash business. The second one was, I've asked this, I think, and he clarified, was a 0.9 of having more than one business. If this were to be appealed, when you have to check all these things, and it's not black white, it's yes, 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 yes 9 times. This fails, and this becomes 8 out of 9. So right, and I joked earlier, the glove here doesn't fit, right? Because it's 8 out of 9. We want 9 out of 9 for a special exception. If we were to go into the gray area, then this will have to be a variance, because there we get some latitude on how we can, say, define hardship or interpret what that does to the value of surrounding properties. And I don't see that in the special exception, which is pretty set in stone on what needs to pass in order to qualify for that. So we put ourselves in a slightly gray area on that matter. But if we approve something that we clearly see it's 8 out of 9 or 7 out of 9, right?
So you're kind of aligning with that walk on the fence with Mr. Corbett?
Absolutely. What else did I looked it up, and by right, the applicant is correct. We cannot take the constitutional right to have the shooting range. It's allowed in New Hampshire. I did my internet research. It's not accurate, but it's pretty accurate based on the actual text it quoted. So we cannot put that as a condition on.
No, but I think that meeting of the minds, as Mr. Corbett said, you give and you take. I think that the applicant is willing to surrender that
right,
in order to align with his, as I said earlier, seed money approach. But he has also been willing, even though he's had permission, he's been willing not to use that opportunity. And myself, I applaud that, because I get, if I were hearing gunshots in my neighborhood in that proximity, and I'm a hunter as well and well-versed with arms, I get a little rattled when I start hearing it, particularly as one of the, as Ms. Carbone indicated, the unnervingness of what's going on societal-wise. So, he's surrendered the gun range thing just out of his own will and said, I don't need to do it in my backyard for whatever his reasons, and I applaud that.
And then if we put those conditions, I think I see that he has to notify the ATF within, I think, 30 days with an address change, and then the conditions that we put on the applications carry back if he were to revert back to the old address. So I think I'm agreeable to that if we were to do such a thing. I think ETF has to reapprove. That's what I say. So it was mentioned here that it was automatic once he changes the address. The laws don't say that. They say it's gonna be. He notifies them within 30 days, and they have to do a quick review. I think usually they will approve, but they will have to look into it again and ensure that he's complied with the original conditions that we put on the application. So you should make.
So you got into conditions, if I'm understanding you correctly. We had originally no retail exchanges at the residence, online sales only, no discharge at the residence, while the FFL is at the address. And did you have another condition?
No, I was saying those ones who carry with him at that address that he applies for. And once he moves out, they no longer apply. If he were to come back, I think the law says here.
Oh, so they just live with the house that you apply them at?
Yes, the original house, the one that ETF approves at that point, the ETF approves at that.
So these will only, in the event that he, goes from the residential to the commercial, our conditions will not follow him to the commercial. However, if he then switches from the commercial back to the residential, all of these conditions will automatically go back into effect.
Okay, I understand. Yep. Okay. Essentially, you're making it with the residents while this application,
it carries with the person.
With this owner only?
Yep. Owner, yep.
Okay. Mr. Tripp?
I'm having a hard time understanding how we got to where we are.
Okay.
Because he's going to be operating a business out of his home, well, not operating a business out of his home.
Mm-hmm.
So this...
You're wrestling with the same thing that Mr. Corbett has described.
So, as he said right now during his testimony, that he already runs a business out of his home.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, item 9 is not to run more than one business out of your home.
Mm-hmm.
But if we grant the special exception,
mm-hmm.
he's not really going to be running a business out of his home.
Mm-hmm.
There's too much
ambiguity.
No, I would say it's not ambiguity. It's monkeys.
Okay.
Monkey business going on here.
Very good.
And Mr. Marion has already said that the only reason he's applied for this is he has to have an address.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just, it confuses me.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
You want to make no monkey business as a condition?
No, no. What do we have for conditions so far?
Well, we have no retail exchanges at the residence, online sales only, no discharge of weapons at the residence while the FFL is applies to this address. And I think that covers Mr. Obimba and Mr. Corbett's conditions. And understanding that I think what Mr. Obimba described is that there's, Mr. Obimba, as far as what the duty is that's going here, you can speak to it if you'd like, that there's really no work going on here.
No work.
I think that affects that, touches on, helps clarify the gray area.
Well, I'm also a little concerned that should we grant this special exception, and Mr. Marion does find a commercial site to start his business, should that not be successful, then he's going to have to do something with his inventory. And I suspect his inventory will be substantial, you know. So now we've got a problem where he's still not operating the business out of his house, but he has all this inventory there. It just gets murkier and murkier.
Okay.
You know, it's like the Alice in Wonderland. You know, things keep changing. And I still fail to understand why we have to grant a special exception so that he can have an address, but not do business there.
Well, the special exception is how the ordinance prescribes this application.
I understand that.
And
I don't think that is probably the way we should be going, is to be granting that special exception.
Okay. Well, I in this case, I would probably disagree with you only because I would not, you know, Mr. Corbett made the point about the sunset clause, but I wouldn't want to, myself, I would have a hard time with a variance situation with it. And I understand.
Well, I agree.
Yeah, and I understand.
The only two means we have of letting him use his address is either variance or a special exception, and I don't think either one are apt.
Okay. The other condition that Mr. Obimba spoke of is that that if this use were abandoned at this address and brought back to this address, these conditions would still remain.
Yeah.
Correct, Mr. Obimba? Are you good with conditions, Mr. Tripp?
They're great conditions, but I'm afraid that I'd probably still vote no.
Okay. Mr. Donlin, you have say here as well.
I guess I'll touch on a few things that, because most of what I had was already touched on. I would say that the self-employed business aspect of it, it's not like adding any traffic or any, I don't really see it any different than any other self-employed person who has like a wife that works at home. Like this is low impact on that front. And if there was a problem with his construction business running in and out of there and lulls getting brought up and down the street, we certainly would have heard about it. So I don't think that there's like a negative impact on the neighborhood, and nobody seemed to mind that. So you technically, if his LLC is registered to the address for tax reasons or whatever in New Hampshire, because he has a business in Mass as well, I really just don't see that as a sticking point in this regard. I also never heard anything, although asked to multiple people, and please, if I missed it, someone let me know, that this approval from I heard 2012, and then I also heard 2014, so.
This 2012, 14 years ago.
Okay, my apologies.
No, it's fine.
I didn't hear anybody say how it negatively impacted the neighborhood other than that it was there.
Right.
Which would be some pretty sound testimony against approving it again at the very same lot. So if I missed that, please let me know.
No, I understand that point. I concur on that.
And just one more point to Mr. Tripp. The reason why he needs an address is a federal matter. If he didn't need it, he wouldn't be here. So there'd be no difference if, with the stipulations at hand, mind you, that if I wanted to just have the ability to not have to go to an FFL every single time I wanted to transfer a gun to myself, you could go down this avenue. What's interesting that some people may or may not realize is that you're actually giving up a whole lot of your rights by becoming an FFL. Now, like, there's so many more stipulations to how the guns have to be locked up, whether, like his self-defense weapons, how they're orientated. If he has so much as a single press for loading ammo and doesn't have a type 6, he's in violation. You're going over a whole nother set of things that are way more strict than you and I as just a generic New Hampshire resident.
Mr. Don, can I pause you one moment? 9:59, can I request that we extend through 10:15?
Yeah, please.
Anybody all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Back. Sorry.
I was done anyways.
Okay.
10:15.
Tough one for me I actually had one point that I thought most of that was excellent. The one point that I had, and it's kind of where I've been wrestling with the two, to your point with the license for the construction business, and it may just be tax purposes for whatever reason. Where I'm kind of hung up on that is we've now got one business that's just claiming an address just for paper reasons and it's not real, and now we're going to have another license just for paper reasons and it's not real. And then it gets to the point after a while of what are we doing if we just keep granting, fake uses for a property? That really goes against every variance or exception that we give.
I get that, and I guess my counter would be put the shoe on the other foot. What would you do? You still have to register your LLC. Like, I have a ton of different federal paperwork that I need for my job if I didn't have an address to write it down. Like, if I had to come for a special exemption for it, I'd be here every month.
But I could also,
what I mean?
again, find a building to do it, or get rid of my business that's no longer have it registered there. Because to Mr. Obimba's point, if we're coming up, even on an appeal, when they look through it, and you have to have 9 yeses, and number 9 states right there that, nope, this goes against it.
Granted, exactly. So in reality, that if there was just if it was just PO Box XYZ, then that would be moot, right? Right. Which is a simple enough thing to do in a couple $100s a year, which I'm sure if we wanted to make that as a stipulation, I just don't see it as that big of a deal. It's not like his wife's running a hair salon out of the basement and he's got 6 people coming over to look at bath fitter stuff in his living room every day. It's not apples to apples in my mind.
Well, and I could concur with that. If you think about attorneys or something like that, they certainly, or dentists could be in someone's home, right? It's acceptable use, and you actually have work going on there. And I think Mr. Obimba touched on this, that some of these other services that are approved under the special exceptions, there's not work going there. It's leaving there and it's going elsewhere, but it still falls under that category of something that...
But then what happens is when we need a third license and we need an address for it?
Well, I think that you certainly can come back to the precedent, right? And we understand that by statute is that one yes, it doesn't mean it's a precedent for another, right? We have the gray area here, and I'm not saying you're right or wrong at this point either, but trying to bring the meetings of the minds between what Mr. Donlin has described and kind of more positions on my right hand. So the precedent doesn't mean that, this yes doesn't mean something else. And I also heard Mr. Marion state that he has a P.O. box for the second, for what his primary income stream has been most of his life, his professional income stream. So again, there are a lot of murky areas here. Mr. Tripp has hit on that. And just continue to work around it, hopefully quicker than not. Mr. Donlin, are you all set?
Yeah, do you want me to read what I have for the subjects?
Conditions, yep.
Yes, please, yep.
So, 1, subject to obtaining all state and town permits and inspections. 2, no retail exchanges to happen at residence, online sales only. 3, no discharge of firearm on property while FFL is registered to address, or to this address.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I actually had online sales only as another, like number 3, but I'm fine.
Okay, I can do that, 3, 4.
No, I'm fine with how you did it, because the two blend together, right?
You tell me how you want me to read it.
Just to the board, 5 members voting, the structure.
I heard it as two separate. Did you read that as just one?
I can, yeah, I'll do it as 2, no retail exchanges, 3, online sales only, 4, no discharge.
Very good. And then we had the
agreement.
Conditions. These conditions stay with the home address with the owner, this owner only. These conditions stay with the home address with this owner only. That would be number 5.
These conditions stay with home address and this
owner only. Yep.
Only.
I think that gets you, Mr. Obimba, what you would like to see? Okay. Got all those? All right. Everybody all set with conditions on this motion? All right. With that, we can come out of deliberation.
I make a motion, we come out of deliberation session.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bimba, second by Mr. Corbett. All in favor of coming out of deliberation, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Mr. Donlin, you have a motion to read.
Thank you. I make a motion on case number 26, TAC 105 for Nicholas Marion to grant a special exemption as provided in Article 6, Section 165, TAC 47.A.1 of the Town of Derry zoning ordinance to permit a Type 1 federal firearms license FFL at the residence, as presented with the following conditions. 1, subject to obtaining all state and town permits and inspections. 2, no retail exchanges to happen at residence. 3, online sales only. 4, no discharge of firearms on property while FFL is registered to this address. 5, these conditions stay with the home address and this homeowner only.
Completes the reading of the motion?
Yep.
Needs a second?
Second, please.
I'll second.
Mr. Obimba seconds that. We have finding of fact.
Yes, finding of fact for case 26-105. Board found that the applicant is requesting a special exception to permit a Type 1 federal firearms license, also known as an FFL, at the residence. The property is located in the low-medium density residential zoning district. The applicant has represented that no work will be performed at the property and is interested in opening a future firearms store at a different location. The business will operate within the existing residence, will not exceed 25% of the total living area. If approved, a federal firearms license will be obtained by the applicant and all associated regulations with the licensing must be followed. And if a sign is requested, a permit for that will be required. The board also includes all facts found in the meeting minutes for this application and incorporates all meeting minutes into its finding of facts and decisions. Does anybody have any additions or addendums to make?
Seeing no gestures there, all in favor of moving this for a vote, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Tripp, what say you?
Well, I still think it's monkey business, but we have enough conditions that I think we can live with this.
Okay. Mr. Corbett?
I'm a no. As I've stated, I don't think it meets the definition of the professions or trade allowed for it, and I think it's a violation of condition number 9.
Okay. Mr. Donlin?
Chair, I also believe with the conditions stipulated in this that I'm a yes.
Mr. Obimba?
I'll vote no for the same reasons as the Vice Chair. I believe I'm stuck on definition for number 9.
I believe that the board has addressed the concerns with the conditions as well, and I also know, based on the other FFL licenses that have been granted, often with the same concerns, many of them being addressed and creating some ease, though I get the sense that's probably not the case here. So the chair will vote yes as well, making that approval by a vote of 3 to 2, Mr. Marion. So, in this regard, you have prevailed. You have 30 days. Anybody aggrieved by this has 30 days to ask this board for reconsideration. After that, recourse would be to Superior Court. Okay? Conditions will be written up accordingly, and hopefully you prevail in the direction you'd like, and that the board's majority feeling works out. Okay?
Thank you.
Very good. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to the amendments of the board policies. You have all those?
Are we going to extend the meeting again?
No, we've got another 10 minutes, so hopefully we can breeze through this and get it done. This is the final reading.
Second reading, 219?
Second, yes, sir. Second reading of the policy and procedure changes.
All right. First set of changes occur on page 9. Second paragraph, we have corrected this to lowercase letter b. Third paragraph, we have corrected to lowercase c. Moving on to page 11. Halfway down the page, under the Zoning Board of Adjustment Policy and Procedures Appendix, we have changed, in the second paragraph, we have changed the word appointed to election. And that concludes the updates.
That was quicker than the last one.
Thank goodness.
You can make a motion to accept the changes as read in the second reading?
I'll second it.
Nope, I was going to let Mrs.
Congratulations, you're moving up now. No offense to Tony, but you know, better than half the board members have been married to.
Straightened out. It's late.
Lynn's married Crystal half the board, 8 years.
I made a motion.
You did, Mrs. Moore. Mrs. Moran will make a motion, please.
Mr. Tripp made a second.
Accept the
Policy and procedures.
as read
On 219.
on 2/19/26.
All right. Can I have a second, please?
Mr. Tripp did have a second.
Mr. Tripp?
I'll second it.
Very good. All in favor of those changes? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none? All right, well, there's a major root canal done. Next is the minutes. Give me table minutes.
Make a motion to table until our next meeting, Mr. Chair. I haven't had a chance to review.
Thank you very much.
I'll
Motion-
second.
Who seconded?
Jason.
Jason, okay. All in favor of tabling those minutes from 2/5/26, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none? All right, any other cases coming up in March?
We have one.
We have one, okay, good enough. So with that being said, any other business before this board this evening? Seeing no gestures, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Corbett. Second, please.
second the
Thank you,
motion.
Mr. Obimba. All in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.